Good evening, cryptid fans, Bigfoot fans, and all the above. Man, I think we're a little starstruck tonight, man. We got an awesome guest tonight. And I think she doesn't need a whole lot of introduction when I say Lauren Smith and Night Callers Bigfoot Radio. Show it's been around quite a while, and not trying to call her old or anything, but the show's been around for quite a while. But anyway, just kidding. Uh, we got Jeffrey, we got Mr. Blaylock, David. Internet's working tonight so far, yay.
So far.
Don't move anything, David.
It's your cue to talk.
I'm not even breathing.
You're not what? Breathing?
If David breathes, they'll lose the internet.
Wow. Starstruck. Man, Jeff told me I got a hold of Lauren, and he started stuttering, carrying on. It's like, calm down, Jeff. Calm down, Jeff. But anyway, it's great to have you, Lauren.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
I guess we'll start off by, we got different viewers that may not have seen you before or anything, but just tell us, go ahead and introduce yourself and how you got started in this crazy subject. And a lot of us know, but some don't. So we're just going to turn it over to you. And
I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys for having me on. I appreciate you guys pronouncing it Night Callers and not Night Crawlers. That's how I know that you've actually listened to my show. Very thankful. Very thankful for that. And then I want to give a special shout out to Jeff for sending me cow pictures as I requested, because they have been getting me through the day.
I've got more. There's over 200 of them. So.
They make me very happy. So we had some spicy weather here last night, and so I got maybe 2 hours of sleep total. So I told him, I was like, I'm going to do my best not to sound like a blithering idiot on your show. So send all the cow pictures. So Night Callers Bigfoot Radio. So we have been around for over a decade now. I've been doing this for over 20 years. So I have been doing this since I was a little pipsqueak, and been doing that with my mom. And then she started a podcast in the early, well, I guess 2011, I believe. And 2008.
I was going to say, I think it was before that. 2008.
Yeah. And we were on Blog Talk Radio. And so it was a call-in show. We didn't have all this YouTube business. It was a call-in show. I ran the switchboard, and I would plug the links into the chat. So my nickname back then was Link Girl, because, we all have to have handles, because that's what Bigfoot people do. And says the milkman up there. And anyway, so we were on that. And then in the year 2020, I brought us over to YouTube so that, everyone could have to view this while they listen to their Bigfoots. My first guest was Cliff Barackman, and I've just had guests, just amazing guests over the years. We've interviewed over 300 people, interviewed over 300 Bigfoot researchers, I should say. So that's kind of what makes Night Callers a little bit different than the other shows. We've always been about the Bigfoot researcher themselves. And I've had people, well, why don't you do witness interviews? And to me, the researchers are witnesses usually. And so I've had people with hundreds of sightings. I've had people all over the world, so from other countries. I've had people with no sightings, but they got into this because they listened to our show and it inspired them to get out and start looking for Bigfoot. So it's been a wild ride. I love it. I am coming back actually starting in June. I will be bringing the show back, interviewing researchers every other week, but I have another surprise for my listeners, which I will unveil on coming soon. So you guys were the first to know. But anyway, it's been really exciting. I love Night Callers. I love where it's taken me. I speak at conferences all over the United States. I go to events and expeditions all over the United States. I know people all over the world that I consider my friends. So it's been pretty awesome. I've got like, I think about it and I have this like Rolodex of information, Bigfoot information in my head. And like you say one random thing and I can probably tell you an encounter that goes along with it. Probably not whose encounter it is, but I can definitely tell you an encounter that goes along with it. It's just, I've got so much 20 years of detritus up here, Bigfoot detritus.
Well, you've only been doing it since you were a kid.
Preteen, I think, is when I started out. And so I tell people, normal kids grow up, going to church camp, going to Disneyland, going to, summer camp. Man, I scared David off. So sorry.
Yeah, I was expecting it's going to happen. Yes, bad luck with internet.
Maybe that black bear finally broke into his house.
So I tell people, that I grew up weird. I did grow up going to those things, but I grew up going out in the woods and looking for Bigfoot. I grew up learning how to cast tracks, learning how to look for Bigfoot sign, learning what Bigfoot scat looks like, analyzing vocalizations. I learned to use Microsoft Excel because we were putting sighting reports from the BFRO. We were linking sighting reports to the moon phases and doing like a data spreadsheet of all the data and seeing how that correlated. And so that's how I learned to use Microsoft Excel as a teenager. I grew up weird. And so, when people, I'm known as the Bigfoot girl. At work, if people are like, oh, hey, let's all introduce yourselves, tell a fun fact. And I'm like, oh, I live in a homestead. And they're like, no, Lauren, the other one, the other fact. They're like, so yeah, she has a Bigfoot podcast and she looks for Bigfoot. And I'm like, this is going to be my legacy. So, so I grew up weird. I grew up doing this, and now I'm getting my own kids into it. So my babies are go out in the field with me. My oldest is the biggest skeptic I've ever met, and I adore it. He's pretty great. He's 12 now, and so he's grown up in this as well. And he doesn't believe in Bigfoot. He truly doesn't believe in it until it's proven to him. He's very skeptical. So he Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've heard.
That was pretty bad. I'll touch on that in a second for sure.
I remember that story. Yeah.
Yeah. So my son, he's a skeptic, right? So he doesn't believe it until it's proven to him. And so there was this picture circulating a few years ago, and I think he was like 8. And there's this picture circulating, and it's a Bigfoot face, and it's got like these like golden eyes. And the story was that this wildlife researcher was out in the woods, and she was startled by something, and she took a picture in a circle, right? That story is not true, but I showed the picture to my son, Adam, just to see what he said. And he was like, oh, mama, he's like, you can't fool me. That's an owl. And I'm like, an owl? And so sure enough, we go look up a great horned owl, and it's the beak. You can see the eyes. Yeah. Like you can see it. It's just the picture was blown up and distorted.
Yeah.
And so he's quick, and he's at that point in his life where he doesn't really care about Bigfoot. Like, it's not exciting to him like other kids. And I was the same way when I was his age. So I'm like, I can't even be mad at him, but he's really funny. We were driving down the road, and I said, where do you think Bigfoot goes when it rains? Like when it really storms? And he was like, I bet they go to a barn and hide out and eat the chickens, right? And I was like, oh yeah. I said, well, that's a good thought, buddy. And then a little bit later, I was like, so Adam, if you were going to go look for Bigfoot, where would you go look? And he was like, in a barn during a rainstorm. And I'm like, this kid, KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid. So I need to get that kid out in the field more. But the presentation that I do at conferences and such is called Littlefooters, the Next Generation. And so it's all about how to get our kids out in the field. How to get them out away from the screens, how to get them interested in Bigfoot, as a lure to get them out basically. And I've gotten some really good feedback on it. Most people love that I'm including the kids in it. Kids haven't really been invited until recent years to participate in the Bigfoot life. So I absolutely love that, I'm getting good feedback on it. That makes me feel really good because we got to start them young, got to start training them right, how to find evidence, how to find a good habitat that'll support Bigfoot, all of that.
Yeah, mine sleeps with a Bigfoot stuffed animal. So
I love that. I love that.
Fairfax has a a quote here. So, having grown up in Bigfoot research family and now hosting one of the longest running Sasquatch podcasts, how has your perspective on the phenomenon evolved over the years from your early field work as a teen to the stories and evidence you hear today? It was in two different posts, so it was just easier to read it
Fantastic.
and show them.
Growing up in it, I've heard the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So I've heard everything from Bigfoot are mean, violent, evil monsters that will kill you and rip you apart and do other bad things to you if you're a female, all the way to the habituator side, the cuddly side. Like they're friendly forest giants, and I made friends with them when I was a young lad, and they're my best friends in the whole world. So I've heard both. I will say the more paranormal side, so the woo side, I guess is how they refer to it, that wasn't around as much when I was younger, so I didn't really cut my teeth on that. That's been a more recent development.
Right.
I have become more open to the idea of that over the years. Back in my day, they were flesh and blood, and that was it. Like that was all there could be. Over the years, you have the whole Bigfoot phenomenon itself, right? So what I tell people is Bigfoot is not just one dude that lives in the Pacific Northwest. He's not Santa Claus. He doesn't just, blink all over the United States, all over the world and appear. This is a species that covers, vast areas. And so when people ask me, they're like, why do you think it's real? It's not the one sighting that did it for me. It's not any one sighting that did it for me. It is the culmination of all the reports that I've taken, all of these people who have seen a variation of this same thing all over the world, all over the United States, all over North America. And so when it comes to the more paranormal version of this phenomenon, first of all, we don't know for sure, right? None of us know for sure that it's not paranormal, or that it's not, spiritual or, whatever. So first of all, there's that. Second, again, it's the amount of witness encounters I'm hearing, and researchers that I respect that are having these experiences. You can't just rule that out because you don't like it, right? You get tunnel vision, you're not going to solve this mystery. And then you have, I've been researching in my hiatus. I've been trying to be a little bit more open-minded, because we're not going to solve this mystery in a vacuum, as uncomfortable as it makes us. And so, hi, Quartz. I see a lot of my friends in the chat, and I'm really excited about that. Thank you guys for coming to support me. A few that I saw last weekend, like Pyro Medic, adore that man.
Yep, Pyro.
Yes, I got a selfie with him. I'm pretty sure he wanted to punch me, but I was like, sir, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm getting a selfie with my friends. So anyway, but it's just, I've been looking more into the energy aspect. Everything's made of energy, and I've just been going into it a little bit and kind of trying to broaden my horizons a little bit, being a little more open-minded about it, and see where that takes me. I mean, I've tried everything else. I've tried every single kind of research that you can do. I've knocked on trees, I've hooped and I've hollered, I've call blasted, I've left, urine samples around camp, whatever. Like we've done it all. So, I mean, why not step outside my own box a little bit?
What of those has been the most successful, you think, for you, as far as maybe a possible encounter?
The most success that I've probably had is the technique that I employ now, which is when I go out to an area, I go during the day, I go hike around and explore, because that's what I love nature. So I'm going to go hike and explore and find everything. Yeah. And then I come back to camp and I sit around a fire and I talk to my friends. And while we're talking, we're listening and we're watching over each other's shoulders. but we're letting them come to us. It's not like they don't know we're there. We don't have to tramp off into the woods to find them. You can. That's very exciting. And I love doing blackout hikes too. Like that's a good time. But it's not like they don't know you're there. You're in their living room pretty much, or their backyard. They know you're there. And what I've found the most success that we've had with activity is whenever we're all sitting there talking, having a good time, but watching over each other's shoulders. My favorite thing to do is when someone's looking for something with their headlamp, or they, stoke the fire, I'm watching for eye shine. We're listening, we're keeping in communication with each other. And that's the most successful way that I've found to do what I do. It doesn't have to necessarily.
That seems to be just sitting around talking.
Yep.
That's because it garners their interest,
Yeah.
Like they say, we're their entertainment. So.
We are their entertainment, and my people. Oh, we're damn entertaining. Let me tell you. I don't know if you guys have met Dennis Henderson. He's one of my best friends, and he's a hoot. He's a hoot and a half.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, because all the times that I've been, like I told you about that place I camp in Western Maryland, every time we've been out to that spot and just doing our own thing at camp at night, and then we all go to bed, that's when I really start hearing stuff.
Yeah. When they think you're asleep, I've noticed. So, Jeff, it doesn't bode well for you and I who go to bed, normal human times, squatchers will stay up till, squatching hour is any time to me between 1 and 4. That's the squatching hour. Like that's when you need to be paying attention, because that's when they're creeping. That's when they get up and going, in my experience, at least. And so for me, it's a battle. It's like, I'll be laying there and I'm like, yeah, I want to stay up and hear something. And about 30 minutes later, I'm like, yeah, I have an audio recorder going. I'll catch it in the morning. My level of dedication goes down.
You want to hear my unpreparedness this time? I had slept terribly the night before this past trip. And so the night that I was going to put all the gear in the hammock with me, I left the thermal and the recorder sitting over in our storage tent where we keep all of our gear. And of course, when I heard it in the middle of the night, I got up and I listened, and it sounded like, samurai chatter, two of them talking back and forth by the fire. And I knew the other guys that were with me were both asleep. And I got up to answer the call of nature, and they all kind of got quiet. And I'm just sitting there in my head going, okay, I'm be back in the hammock in a minute. You guys can continue. And then I clocked back in there and zipped myself up, and it started up again. And I just was like, well, I can't walk past them to go get the recorder, so I guess we're not going to be recording that.
It's because you didn't have the recorder going. So there's a few things over the past, couple decades that I've learned, and the Bigfoot curse. So if you're, new to the game, you might not know what that is. There's a couple different Bigfoot curses. If you get into Bigfoot, the first curse is that you will become broke. Because this is not a poor man's hobby, but yet all of us are very poor trying to do it. It's okay. The second Bigfoot curse is that you will get the absolute best activity, audio, whatever. You will get the best sounds when your audio is not going. We used to have a thing where before you got out of the truck, you started your audio, because the amount of times I've had friends step out of a truck, and that's when there's a stick break, there's a tree knock, there's a howl, there's a hoot, there's, whatever. It's crazy how often that's happened. Yeah, Brian, who's also a dear friend, he said, what if I started out broke? Same.
Yeah.
Same.
You talking about Brian from Red Dirt Cryptids?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Brian's awesome. We had him on a few months ago.
So I saw him last weekend. I went to the Kaimichi Mountains Bigfoot conference, and that's where I was camping solo. And so I hung out with Brian while I was at the conference, and you know, we were just talking about, you know, different techniques and stuff. And I was like, you know, I'm trying to be open-minded. I'm trying to do this or that. And so he came up with the best, we're going to put it on a shirt. He said, well, when you get out there, he said, just talk to Bigfoot. He's like, it's free therapy. And I'm like, man, that's good. That's a good one. I was like, that needs to be on a shirt because, I mean, you could just go talk to Bigfoot. It's free therapy. They listen really
Yeah,
well.
Brian's got some interesting stuff.
He does. He
played some
does.
stuff for us.
He does. He's a really good dude. Really good dude. And he shared his beef jerky with my dog Char, and so she's his biggest fan forever, you know.
I was gonna say instant fan, yeah.
Instant fan. And she was doing great though. She was really nervous. And then Pyro, he bought her a bag of treats too, because, you know, that dog did better than I did at the conference. I mean, she made friends everywhere she went.
Brian says the therapist thinks he's real interesting.
Same, Brian. Same. My goal every week with my therapist is to make her laugh, which I'm pretty sure I have a red label on my folder with her or something, you know, crazy. But yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
So what's one of your probably favorite trips you took?
So many.
I was going to say that many.
Yeah, I've been a lot of places, a lot of expeditions. Probably my top two favorites are we went to the Pacific Northwest to go to the Medellin Falls Bigfoot Conference in Washington, and I got to go to the Olympic Project headquarters, and it was like a dream come true. It was so cool. I got to sign the bar. That was exciting. I got to go hike the La Push Reservation. Like I got to go hike all the way out to the Pacific Ocean. It was phenomenal. It was a really good trip. And then I got to go to Beachfoot while I was there, and that was really cool. I met a whole lot of different people. I mean, they're very different than Southern Bigfoot researchers, and they were so welcoming. They loved having my kids there. They were really nice. Not to say that Southern Bigfoot researchers aren't, but it was just, I was worried about being welcomed there, like, because I am from the South, and I was like, oh, I don't know. But they were so welcoming. They were very nice. But probably my second favorite would be the trip to Alabama. Mark Green was just a fantastic tour guide, and it was beautiful out there. I think it was a great place. It was a great camp out, but I have to say Mark and Rebecca probably made that trip the best, because they were so hospitable. They showed us the area. He took us up to Creepy Mountain. I almost died 5 times on the way up, but it was really great. I mean, he's a fantastic tour guide. You should probably sign a waiver though. Yeah. So going up Creepy Mountain, we're in the back of Mark's truck. And I just, it's like Ace Ventura, like when he's singing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Was it his old blue truck?
Yes. And so we're just bouncing from side to side in this truck. And I mean, we're in a riverbed. We're possibly a miniature Grand Canyon, but definitely a riverbed at minimum. And so we're bouncing from side to side, and we finally get up there, and I'm just like, first of all, could not believe that this is the way into the spot. Second, Pat Rance takes his booger buggy up there, which has this much clearance. So I don't understand the mechanics of that. And then Mark goes, man, they redid this road. It's really nice. And all of us were just like, what? Like, how?
They redid the riverbed?
But we got, so it was really fun. He took us all over. He gave us the history on the area. Creepy Mountain was creepy, beautiful, but creepy. He was telling us a story about 2 Bigfoot that would creep up and peek over a canoe, like an overturned canoe that was on the ground. And I was sitting there watching, and I'm looking at it and listening to him tell this. And, it's dark, it's creepy. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I go around the back of the truck by myself, and I'm standing there. So I'm really ashamed about this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway, because this is how creepy Mountain is. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, I was thinking about that story about the Bigfoot peeking over the boat, and I hear this skittering sound. So I'll tell you a secret about Lauren. I will walk out into the middle of the woods by myself, no headlamp, no flashlight, perfectly fine. I will get bluff charged by a Bigfoot and I'll get nervous, but I'll hold my ground. I'm fine. Something skitters at me, like absolutely not. I will run backwards and run over you. Ask Mark Newbill. I will climb you to get out human shield and climb you to get off the ground. So something skittered around the back of that truck. All I could think was it's belly crawling up to me and it's going to get me. So I turn and I take off. And I take off up the side of the truck. This is the embarrassing part. I knocked my mother out of the way. My elderly mother, I knocked her out of the way. I didn't see her, in my defense, but I knocked her out of the way, trying to get past her to get away from whatever this thing was. And there was nothing there. I don't think. I went back and checked, when I got.
It was probably an armadillo.
I think it was the wind across the grass. I really do, but I was just scared. I was scared. I just knew it was going to get me, whatever it was. Whatever it was.
Skittering can, especially when you're in the dark.
It's a possadillo. I don't know, but
I can sit there and listen to Bigfoot talking all night, but if a spider accosts me in my house, I'm like ready to tear the place down.
Same.
I had one the other day. I caught him coming over the back of my sofa. I moved the sofa, and this thing looked like something from Arachnophobia, and I was like, I grabbed the broom, and
I'm terrified of spiders. I'm terrified.
And he climbed into my favorite recliner, and I was like, all right, that's it. We're not doing this. And I was over there shaking the recliner till I got him out.
Oh, I can't. I make the people around. So my son's, like my oldest son, he knows if there's a spider that he's got to take care of it. The other day I was mid-conversation with my mom and I was just talking and there was a spider on the curtain and I just looked up and I was like, you need to take care of that right there. And I just walked off. I'm like, I'll burn the house down. That's how I'm going to take care of the spiders. So,
how many times have you shot the wall, Jeff?
Well, I was going to use some 22 bird shot on my sofa, but I was that close to.
I support this. 100%.
I'd use a propane torch if I knew I wouldn't burn the place down,
I'm just going to let the chat ask the questions because they're covering all I have wrote down. So I'm just going to let them do the talking.
I love when the chats.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, they're coming up with everything I was going to ask you so far.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Laura, you ever been to LBL?
I have, but not researching. I just went to go visit. So.
Yeah, I know you've been to Daniel Boone.
Yeah.
Spencer said that's the one place that he thinks is creepier than any other place he's been to.
Oh, wasn't that creepy to me? I didn't have the experience that they had there, though. Mine was more. We did have activity, and that was actually where I kind of started practicing, focusing on the forest around while we're all in camp laughing. Mark Newbill was over there looking in his pack for something, and he was flashing his headlamp all over the place, and I caught eye shine. And about that time, Eric Tipton, I was standing on top of a rock and I was watching this eye shine, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I just saw eye shine. That's crazy. And then Eric Tipton comes up and shoves me off the rock. And so I was like, I just saw eye shine. What are you doing? He's like, oh, my bad. And I'm like, well, but we had something we think come through camp actually during that time. And it was a pretty cool place. In my experience, have I noticed any patterns in how Sasquatch respond differently to women versus men in the field? Absolutely. I've said this on my show before. Most women, as demonic as we can be sometimes, most women give off a different vibe when we go in the woods. We're nurturers, right? Like even if we're carrying, even if we can scratch the eyeballs out of a bobcat, right? We still carry ourselves different in the woods. Men, no offense, but you guys walk into the woods like you are the apex predator and you own the place and everything here needs to watch out for you. Well, women are brought up a little bit differently because we're pretty used to watching our back. We're pretty used to situational awareness. We're pretty used to not walking in that way because that'll get us noticed, and sometimes not in a good way. So women, most of the time, we don't practice that. So when women go into the woods, we are there looking around, we're observing, we're appreciating. If you ever go with me, just know I'm stopping every 3 seconds. I'm picking up a rock. I'm taking a picture of moss. I'm looking at this flower. Just the way that women go into the woods, we carry ourselves differently. And I think that this creature would be less threatened by that for sure. You know, we're a little bit less of a loose cannon. You know, we're a little bit less likely to you know, fire one off. I've had to get on to one of my male friends, actually. We were camping together and it got dark and he just pulls out this giant AR and I'm like, what you doing? And he's like, well, it's just, you know, it's nighttime. And I'm like, your pistol just ain't gonna do it because it's pretty big too. And he's just like, well, I got this. And I said, do you think we're honestly gonna have any activity with your freaking bazooka over there? And he's just like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, you look terrified and you have this giant gun and I carry, like, I'm all about the firepower. I get it. I'm not stupid, mostly because I'm scared of humans, not Bigfoot, but still, like, you have this giant weapon. Do you think they're gonna give us any activity? Because I guarantee you the first time they make a noise in the woods, they think you're gonna shoot them. I said, so you can carry, like, but let's just carry concealed. Like, let's just kind of at least give the illusion that we're not going to shoot them. And so after that, we talked about it and he was like, okay. He's like, all right. He's like, well, I'm going to start working on that. And he did. He stopped presenting as much firepower out in the open. And it was funny, though, when we left that spot was where I soloed this last weekend. And I stayed there alone and I felt completely safe. But that night when I was there with him, there was this speaking of energy, there was this energy that was coming and it was like very oppressive. And so it would come and it would be really oppressive and then it would back off and we'd be fine, and very oppressive and then it'd back off and we'd be fine. And so, I mean, at one point I was scared to death to go get in my tent by myself. This was when he was there. And, it was really, and then we left and I went back the following weekend and there was where he had parked, you could drive out between these two trees, and where he had parked, there was a gigantic branch wedged in between the two trees, blocking that access. Like it was very aggressive. It was like they were saying, like, we could have stopped you from leaving. I don't know what it actually meant, but like in my translation, it was pretty creepy. That was a very creepy place this past week or weekend before last when I went. It was great. I felt so peaceful the entire time. Like, I hung out outside of my tent in the dark. I went back in my tent. It thunderstormed and I felt absolutely safe there. So I think that the energy that we give off, you know, and kind of our demeanor, they definitely pick up on that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Sound waves, I think, was that. And so absolutely, infrasound is something that I'm very interested in and very experienced with. I've experienced that a lot over the years, or what we think is infrasound. Energy waves, sound waves, I'm not sure which one it is. But I definitely know it affects people differently depending on how strong it is. And so I'm not sure what it is, if it's sound, energy. I know that sound waves are energy, but you know what I mean. I
think Mark had mentioned that you had experienced some of that when you guys were at Creepy Mountain.
Yeah, we definitely felt it at Creepy Mountain. It's like a pressure on my chest.
Yeah, I've had it before.
I've learned to kind of pick up on it and not run from it. I've learned to just kind of sit with it and kind of figure out where it's coming from and pinpoint. And usually what happens is I'll pinpoint an area before it starts. And when I pinpoint the area, that's when it starts. It's like it's directed at me, I guess. Stephen Hill from Arkansas, he's one that he also feels it. And it surprised me that he felt it. I had never researched with him before. And so when he felt it almost more than I did. It's like, it was really, he's a big guy. And so it was,
I've seen him before.
It's kind of like they turned up the power for him. I don't know, but Yeah, he's one of my favorite people to research with. Also, he's a really good dude. We've tried try to think outside the box when we're in the field, and we've had some weird experiences. Just I think he's a magnet. He's one of those Bigfoot magnets. I'm Bigfoot repellent. I've learned. I've learned that I'll actually Luke Gross. If you guys haven't had him on, you need to, because he's fantastic. So he's dear friend. He's one of the OG night callers. Luke Gross actually helped me kind of figure out why I'm Bigfoot repellent, because for years I've joked, like, if you don't want to have a sighting or experience or activity, bring me to a camp out, because they just don't come around if I'm around. And Luke Gross, he finally pointed out, he said, well, you're an empath, right? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, so you can feel when they're around? And I said, generally, yeah, I know when they're there. And he's like, Bigfoot doesn't want you to know they're there. How are they going to creep up on you whenever you know they're there? And I'm like, oh. And he's like, so you're like a warning system. They're not going to come around if you're there to tell everybody. And I'm like, oh, like, it just like light bulb. And so I haven't really figured out what to do with that information yet, but it at least an answered a question for me of why, when I go to events with other people, why there's no activity, but yet when I go with just a few people, we get activity. So, well, besides the fact that more people, there's going to be less activity, but
I think they're there. I was going to say.
they're there. What is my scariest encounter? Absolutely. And it is not when the Pasadillo ran at me, although it was pretty terrifying. The time I got growled at would be the absolute most terrifying thing that has happened to me. So we were doing a Night Callers live in the field episode from my mom's front porch. And so just so you know, I live where my mom lives. I live here too. We're in deep East Texas in the Piney Woods, and she lives in an old restored hunting cabin out in the middle of the Piney Woods. So we are surrounded by forest. And we've now cleared the place to where there's room, there's, space before you get to the tree line. But used to, back then, the tree line was right up on the porch. And so
there's a factor right there.
It was right there. Like, you could reach out and touch the Bigfoot. And so back then we had just done a live in the field show with Night Callers. And we had ended the show, and I was sitting on the porch, and I was looking, and I saw eye shine. And it was like a light orange kind of yellow eye shine. It was big eyes. And I looked at it, and I was like, did I just see that? Is that an owl? No, that wasn't an owl. It was moving. That was eye shine. I'm thinking this to myself. And I'm like, okay, so where would it go? It looked like it was heading that way. And so I kind of moved my eyes that way, and I'm just watching. And then for whatever reason, I look down, there's these bushes, probably, 10 foot from the porch. There's these bushes, and they're still there. And I looked at the base of the bushes, and I was like, man, how creepy. And I was thinking to myself, how creepy would that be if it like belly crawled up and was watching me? About the time I finished that thought, this growl, this god-awful growl comes out of those bushes. It shook my chest. It was like a barrel-chested growl. It shook my chest, and I had such an intense reaction that I reached down and grabbed the camp chair I was sitting in and pulled myself into the camp chair so that I wouldn't take off running into the house. My fight or flight kicked in, and I was absolutely terrified. My mom was on the other end of the porch, and she was just over there talking on the phone. And, I'm mom, trying to get her attention. Cannot get her attention. Finally get her attention. I'm like, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And she took one look at me, and she goes, yeah, that was a semi truck out on the road. And I'm like, we live, 20 miles past the middle of nowhere. Like, when a semi truck comes down the road, you absolutely know it's a semi truck. And so I sat there for a little bit longer, and then I just got fed up because she did not seem to care. And so I go inside, and my ex-husband at the time, he was laying there asleep on the couch, and I kind of shook him, and I'm like, get up. And he's like, what? And I'm like, Bigfoot growled at me. It growled at me. And he said, I was white as a sheet. I was clammy. And he's like, what growled at you? I'm like, it growled at me. Bigfoot growled at me. And I'm freaking out. And he's just like, okay. Like, he didn't believe in Bigfoot. I still don't think he believes in Bigfoot. And I'm just like this is this life-changing event that happened to me. And so then later I was talking to my mom about it. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty resentful that she just kind of, was like, oh no, it was a truck. And I'm like, the hell it was. Like, it shook my chest. It was terrifying. It was gonna come get me. And later on, she finally admitted, she was like, I heard it. She's like, but you were so damn terrified. I just tried to calm you down and say it was something else. And I'm like, seriously? And so then whenever I was, when it happened, it's weird because my initial thought when that growl came out, my initial thought wasn't even fear at first. My initial thought, I was offended. I was offended that it would deign to growl at me while I'm sitting on my porch. And then after that, the fear kicked in, of course, and I had to grab my chair. And yeah, it was. Anyway, that would be my most terrifying experience. I've had a few since then, but that one was absolutely terrifying. I've had other terrifying experiences, but they didn't really, Bigfoot wasn't the culprit. It was humans.
Yeah, I've heard that one before. Where were you when that happened?
I was by Stillwell, Oklahoma. I wanted to do my first solo camp out, and so I contacted DW, and I wanted to go to this place. It's beautiful up there. And so I went over there, parked my car, and my little dog and I hiked up. We hiked way back in there, actually. And I thought to myself, you know what? For my first time, I think I want to be closer to the car, right? And so I hiked backtracked a little bit, and there were all these big rocks. And so there was this tunnel in between these rocks. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to set up in this tunnel behind these rocks because you can't see me from the ground. So I set up.
Pretty good tactical position there.
It was pretty great. Like, and so my tarp blended in with the rocks because I was hammock camping. And so I was like, okay, yeah, it's cool. So I set up my fire. I set up my camp. I made dinner. I sat there with my dog. I was having the best time. Like, it was so relaxing. It was amazing. I was thinking to myself, like, I'm going to do this every weekend. This is wonderful. Mm-hmm. Woke up in the middle of the night. There was a raccoon in camp. My dog kind of alerted, got rid of the raccoon. And then I wake up. It's 4 a.m. I didn't know that at the time, but I wake up, and I woke up to what I thought was a tree being pushed over. And my initial reaction was, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Here we go, boys. Here we go. We got some action. We got some activity. Let's go. I was stoked. And then I heard the gunshots. And then I heard, an explosion and all this stuff. And my dog's alerting, but he's trying to jump out of my hammock, and I'm squeezing him, and I'm shaking. I mean, I'll be honest, like, I was so terrified that my stomach was cramping, and I was like, my belly was hurting. I was absolutely terrified, laying there listening to whatever was going on. I didn't know what was going on. I was still, kind of trying to wake up. I didn't know what was happening. I pulled out my phone, but I kept it under my sleeping bag because I didn't want anyone to see the light. And I texted DW, and I had no signal this entire time. And I texted DW, and I said, please call the sheriff. There's some people out there. What'd I say? There's some people out here doing shenanigans, and they're up to no good or something. And instantly he texts back. He said, I called the sheriff, and I'm on my way. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, did he have the phone next to his head? Like, it's 4 a.m. And he said that later on, he said that he had slept with the phone on the nightstand next to him in case I needed him, which was very cool of him. So I'm laying there, and I'm like, okay, they're doing whatever they're doing. I didn't know what was going on. And I'm like, oh man, that's my car. They're demolishing my car. And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, well, it's a car. I'll wait till morning, and then I'll go hike out to the road, and I'll whatever. It's fine. It's a car. It's not my life. And then I realized, what if they come looking for the owner of that car? And I started getting really freaked out because I could hear them walking below the ridge I was on. And I kind of like dropped my foot down and stuck my foot in my boot, dropped my other foot down, stuck my other foot in my boot. And I thought to myself, if I see headlamps or I hear any leaves getting closer to me, being stepped on closer to me, I'm going to get out and go up on top of the rock over my camp, and I'm going to pick them off, because if it's me or them, it's going to be them. They're not going to be here anymore because I got babies at home, right?
You just had your pistol, didn't you?
I just had my pistol, and so I have my dog in one arm and my pistol right here, and I'm just laying there. I'm shaking, and I'm just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get out, and I'm gonna quietly go up, and I'm gonna pick. And I just had like this theme running through my head, and I'm laying there waiting, and I realized that my dog is snoring, and I'm like, buddy, okay, JD, really? Like, what are you doing? And he, I guess they had left and I didn't notice. And then I get a call in his DW, and he said, hey, he said, the sheriff's here. They need you to come down. So I grab my little dog and my gun, and I hike down the mountain. I see the sheriff driving down, and there's the sheriff's deputy is actually walking in front of the truck. And apparently DW had basically told them, you need to get out and get in front of that truck, and you need to turn on your lights. She's not coming down until she knows it's you. And so I get down there, and I'm trying to tell him, and he's like, what are you even doing out here by yourself? He's like, you don't need to be out here by yourself. And I'm like, I will shoot you. I'm like, well, so I'm a wildlife researcher, and I actually have audio of this entire thing. And he's like, you got this on video? And I'm like, okay, no, not what I said. Listening is very important. So especially in your line of work, sir. So I have an audio recorder that I capture wildlife noises with, and I have the audio of this entire thing if you want it. And he's just like, yeah, no, I don't care. Like, he just did not care. So it turns out what had happened is a bunch of less than noble creatures had stolen a brand new pickup truck and brought it out there and shot at it and set it on fire. And my dumbass got really excited when I first heard it, because I thought it was a Bigfoot pushing a tree over. So that tells you everything you need to know about me and who I am and how I was raised. Is my thought went to Bigfoot, and I was so excited. But so this weekend before last, when I went solo camping in the Kiamichis, that was the first time I'd been solo camping since that incident, because that incident, it scared me so bad. So whenever I went out, I took my dog Char with me, and we had the best time. It was fantastic. So it kind of healed that piece of me, but I'm not going to lie. I had some PTSD from that trip. So later that night, so I'd called my ex-husband when I left. He was my husband at the time. And I told him what happened. He was like, I'm so glad you're okay. He's like, head home. He said, but can you pick up donuts on the way? Because, priorities. And so I got home, and later on I was playing the audio so that he could hear everything that happened. And he was microwaving rice in the microwave, and when he pulled it out, the lid popped, and I hit the deck. Like, I thought I'd been shot. Like, I thought I'd been shot at again, and so I hit the deck, and it hit him in the neck, and he like grabbed his neck because he. Anyway, it was just it definitely impacted me. It took me years of being out in the woods and camping to kind of like level down my threat level with humans. I'm more terrified of humans than anything. People are like, there's hogs out there, there's bobcats, there's mountain lions, there's bears and Bigfoot, and I'm like, I am more scared of humans than I am any creature in the woods, hands down. So I carry my gun, always will, and it is more for the less than noble creatures that roam the woods. So
yeah, don't blame you.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Is there any adventure that ever made you laugh every time you think of it?
Oh, God. Probably, let's see. I got to sort through the ones that I can't tell on air.
We'll have to talk about those.
No, those, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. Pretty much Hillary. She said North American meth heads. That's where I was.
Yeah. I've had a few experiences with those hunting.
It's interesting.
I had one brandish a handgun at us one time.
I had one chase our truck. Actually, it was Mark Newbill was with us. And we were at the dead end by Boykin Springs, and I was driving, and there was this group of vehicles down at the dead end, which is a very creepy paranormal place. And this guy in like a wife beater, and it's like February or March. It's cold, really cold. And this guy in like a wife beater starts chasing the truck. And Mark Newbill, he had a knife. And he's like, let me out. I'm going to jump in the back of the truck and stab him. And I'm like, no, you're not. We're just driving, sir. We're driving. I don't know what he thought he was going to do, but it was, oh my God. No, it wasn't. Mark Newbill was not chasing the truck. He was in the truck, ready to go commando on Rocky. I don't know.
Mark Newbill chasing the truck.
Oh, it was terrifying. I don't know if so, I Am Legend. There's that one bald zombie that like just starts taking off running. The guy ran like that. And I will never not see that. It was absolutely terrifying. Like it was just still sticks with me to this day. It was absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, Boykin Springs is a creepy place.
It is. It's actually one of my favorite places to go. I do love Boykin. We camp over at Sexton Pond. Mom and I are actually going to be camping at the dead end soon. So wish us luck.
Now, what's one of the more infamous places that you're close to in Texas?
Well, we have the dead end. We have like the big thicket. We have Sam Houston.
You ever go to the Lone Star Trail?
Yeah, I mean, I've camped near there a lot. I didn't really get any Bigfoot activity when I went the few times I've camped in the Sam. I'm trying to think. We have a lot of places around here that are really good. We're pretty close to the Sabine River. We actually live right next to the Angelina River. We have, Sam Rayburn area here. So we're kind of in a really good spot in the Piney Woods that we have a lot of Bigfoot activity. A lot. So yeah. I love being here. I get to go kind of Bigfoot stuff. We do porch squatching is what we call it. So we go out on the porch here and turn out all the lights, and we sit and we don't really do calls a lot, but we'll just listen and maybe do some owl calls. We love to call the owls in. That usually gets the Bigfoot going. So we'll have activity. We'll see eye shine out in the yard because we have a pond, and down the hill you can see eye shine around the tree line. And we've had some pretty weird experiences out here that I'm happy to share, but just there's a lot going on right outside my back door. Yeah. So I do venture out and go on expeditions with other people and go see beautiful places. I go on adventures, and that's a great hint. You should tune into Night Callers, and you might hear more about that. But I wants
to know if you've ever been out with Bob Garrett.
Mm-hmm. I haven't. I want to say my mom has, but I have not. So
that was some pretty creepy stuff he found at one place.
Yeah, I've heard about it. That's kind of like that definitely impacted a lot of us. I don't know about you, but I found several abandoned tents in my time, and every time you just think oh man.
I've got pictures of an abandoned camp that I actually found the place I was telling you about where we were hammock camping.
Yeah,
we've been there 2 years in a row, and we found it last year, and it's still there. The Park Service never even
like you just wonder what happened. Like we found one of those in Alabama when we went, and I think the people got arrested is what happened. So there's that mystery. But you just always wonder what happened. I'm like, can y'all just not leave a note or something and let us know? Like, was it Bigfoot? Was it aliens? Yeah. If you could just, leave a note for us, that'd be great.
Well, back to the funny adventures. We didn't get anywhere on that, but
I know. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You'll love us because we will go all over the place. Of
course. Those are the best interviews. Those are the best interviews. I've had a lot of them. Probably the funniest. I went out with Southern Bigfoot Alliance. I don't know. It's a tie between Southern Bigfoot Alliance and being out in the field with Larry Porch and Mark Newbill, and Kane Michael and Spencer Jameson and Eric Tipton. Those guys are hilarious. But Southern Bigfoot Alliance, I went out with them, and the Bigfoot world's full of a bunch of characters, and they are very, very funny characters. And so I've had lots of laughs. The Southern Bigfoot Alliance, it was more the personalities that were out there. Kendall was out there. He's a good friend. He found the trailer hitch like 3 times in a row, which was pretty funny. With his shin, so he was making Bigfoot noises for us, on accident. Kendall, he's a special guy. We were actually standing out there. We had been hearing things being thrown, and we had Dustin actually had a sighting out there. And so Kendall and I had walked the opposite way, and we're standing there, and he looks at me and he's like, "Are you ovulating?" I told him, I was like, if anybody but you had asked me that, I would have shot you right here, or at least kicked you in the shin. But because it's Kendall, I know there's a good reason. And he's like, well, I just have this theory. And so I was just wondering if you were ovulating. And so we stood in the woods with no headlamps, no flashlights, just standing in the pitch black woods, hearing this thing paralleling us over here. And we're discussing, just our theories on animals and heat and women and what would attract Bigfoot and all this stuff, just standing in the woods. And so that was just a piece of the funny. Like, there was just so much on that trip that was hilarious. The different things that Bigfoot people try to do to attract Bigfoot. We convinced Dustin Clark to throw a rock, like act like he was going to throw it this way and turn and throw it the other way at the last second and surprise the Bigfoot. And he ended up doing this ballerina move that I have never laughed so hard in my entire life. And Shane Church, if you've ever met Shane Church, he is a very funny dude. And he kept imitating it. And I seriously almost wet my pants. It was the funniest situation. But just stuff like that. I think that's one of my favorite parts of the Bigfoot life is the people I get to meet and the experiences, just getting to know people that are into the same things, having those fun memories, those funny memories that you carry forever. I
haven't heard.
No idea.
I talk to Mark every so often, but
no, I haven't talked to Mark or Larry in quite a while. So
you sound like you got a list of people we could have on here.
I do. I have quite the list.
Plenty. I'm sure there's plenty.
Yeah, I have quite the list.
The hardest thing is to get the local people here.
Yeah, that's what
we've had them lined up, but they back out. And we tell them, we can do a pre-recorded show.
Actually, had a bunch of Maryland people on lately.
Yeah. I mean, we could do a pre-recorded show. You don't have to sit in front of a camera or anything.
I thought about maybe going on with him, and maybe we can get some local stuff lined up through him. That'd be awesome.
Y'all got to start paying people.
We
pay them in stickers.
We actually just started doing stickers. Jerry just ordered us some stickers, and they're
here. I didn't just order them; they're here, man.
Yeah, we've got them. They're very nice stickers too.
Just to recap, because earlier I saw that someone said, I looked up your live videos. You haven't posted anything in over a year. So I am bringing Night Colors back next month, actually, is when I'll start. I have a list of people. It'll be bi-weekly because I am a full-time single mom. I work full-time. I homeschool my kiddos, and I work on this homestead with my mom. So I go out on adventures as often as I can. So I will dedicate time to the podcast because you guys have asked so nicely.
Oh, there's
and I enjoy doing it and miss it. But just want y'all to know it is coming back, and it begins next month. You can catch me on Night Colors at some day and time that is to be determined because I haven't decided which day of the week I want to do yet.
They're filling up fast.
There's something every night of the week. There's something at every time.
Sometimes there's nothing.
Yeah, so I'm like, you know what? At this point, if you want to catch my show live, but so and so's doing their show live at the same time, and you like their show more, go listen to their show. You can catch mine in the reruns. It's fine. Like, it's not a big deal to me. Whatever floats your boat. I'm not in competition with anyone. I support everyone because you and I can interview the exact same guest, and it's going to be a different interview. So I'm not worried about it. Correct. I support everybody.
I feel the same way. Yep. I mean, like tonight we're Originally we were going to do Wednesdays, but that wasn't going to work because there's
Mhm.
other local people here that do it. So we decided, well, we
Oh,
just
yeah.
pick Tuesday, and now there's another person who was probably on that, stopped for a while, now they're back at it, and that's fine. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I figure.
Again, I agree with what you said. If they want to
Yeah.
watch what we have, they can watch it later. It's no big deal.
Nope, not a big deal. I mean,
Competition. It's not about competition.
no, and it used to be. So, when I was growing up, and when I first started in this, we were one of the first Bigfoot shows out there.
Mhm.
And so, it was kind of ingrained in us, like, the competition. And now I'm just like, oh man, they thought of that name. That's such a good idea. I wish I would have thought of that. Hell yeah, that's awesome. You go, person, you. So, I mean, I just support everybody now. I share. And so the new generation of Bigfoot podcasters, they all share each other's things. They show up and support each other in the chat. Like, it's fantastic. Right. I'm here for this alliance. It's wonderful.
Yeah. There's no
Yeah.
need for competition. There he is. He's back.
No.
I figured he got a phone
make sure
call.
my beagle was in the other room and not outside somewhere gallivanting around.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dog came up here and sat for about 5 minutes, and she was like, absolutely not. There's no treats up here. No.
Have you ever done any Bigfoot down on the East Coast at all?
So as far east as I've gone is Alabama. So I guess I will have to come visit you guys,
It's a long drive.
Well,
yeah.
You'd love this. We're an hour and a half from Gettysburg.
Yeah.
I could turn that into a homeschool adventure.
There's a big Michaud State Forest. It's about 108 square miles. It's about 15 minutes out of there. And I actually went on one of my first official Bigfoot campouts last month and
Nice.
met up with Bud and Angie from Ohio, and then supposed to meet up with Mary from the PA Bigfoot Project, but she was unfortunately under the weather. Sorry about that, Mary. We missed seeing you there, but we got to meet up with some people, and the weather was terrible, but we got to do a Gettysburg ghost tour.
That's all that matters. I love camping in bad weather though. I don't mind it at all. Like when I did my solo, it stormed Saturday night, like really stormed. It's relaxing. I mean, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
As long as the water's, God is willing and the creek don't rise, I'm out there. So, that was probably another terrifying time was just, being, at the, that same Stillwell thing. We had a tornado, not tornado, but a heavy thunderstorm come through and the river got up and it was just flowing. I mean, carrying full-size trees 20 miles an hour past us. And it was really, really scary that night. But
Bigfoot Todd.
Yeah, Bigfoot, New York Todd. Bigfoot.
Yep.
Hi, Todd.
Another fan of night callers.
I think
Yep.
I've had a lot of people tell me that. I met someone at Stillwell actually, and his wife was like, "Oh my gosh, we fall asleep to your voice every night." He puts his phone on his chest and he falls asleep to your voice, and I'm like,
You don't know how to take that, right?
there's layers to that, and I just thank you for listening. As long as one person wants to hear my show, I will do the show. I'm still processing that comment, if we're being honest. Yeah. Still processing.
I would take it good.
Yeah, I try to take everything for the positive. I've got a lot of great people that I've met through this. One of my dearest friends, he was actually the very first person to ever recognize me in public. It was that same Stillwell conference, and there was this
Mark Green.
Yeah, Mark Green's in the house.
Oh, Mark Green joined us.
Yeah, Mark's in the house.
Look at that.
He must have been able to sneak away from his job that he was on.
Can we just talk about Hillary's comment? Oh my God, that's hilarious. Listen, my Patreon channel, it's ASMR of Lauren just talking. I read the dictionary, and you can join my Patreon, and I will just lull you to sleep with my voice. No, but I think that's great.
I used to fall asleep listening to Dixie Cryptid.
Yeah,
he's got a very relaxing voice as well.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. I I can't fall asleep to stuff like that because I'll end up listening to it. Like I could never fall asleep to the TV as a kid. Like I would end up watching it and just, yeah. So
I fell asleep on my own show, so you know.
I was going to say, Jeff, you fall asleep.
Okay, but to make you feel better, I did the same thing. I just wasn't on video. I was pregnant also. So, but I mean, listen, you get a pass. You get one pass as a podcast host.
Oh, I've gotten
Yeah.
several passes.
I've wanted to fall asleep several times. And it wasn't necessarily because the guest wasn't a good
Yeah.
guest or anything. It's just, you know, the tricks that I've had to learn over the year of stifling yawns. And it's not because of the guest. It's because I'm exhausted. I'm tired. And this is past my bed. Not this, but my show would go past my bedtime. And I would, you know, the pinch, the pushing your tongue against the roof of your mouth. I'm giving you tips here. You need to be writing these down, dear. So there's, you know, there's all these great tips that I can give you to keep yourself awake. You know, just you can pluck a nose hair every now and then.
The caffeine and chewing tobacco seems to work for me.
Okay, well, I guess that's a little less dramatic, but
It's not as much fun, right?
no. Hi, Mary.
Yes, Mary Fabian. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, you know, Pyro, listen, I have deduced or fully believe that those were dust mites or something, whatever, because I refuse to believe that I was locked in a closet, or I'm sorry, my studio, with orbs. I don't know, Orbapalooza. You guys should look that one up. I'm
Your
very
closet
dramatic.
studio?
Yeah, my private studio that I had. A lot of people were very shocked to find that it was a closet, but to me, it worked. It worked. There was a question up there that I saw. That
This
was really
chat
good.
is flying. It's hard to keep up with it.
Yeah, chat's doing great. I want to give a shout out to the chat because I have not been on air in over a year, and I was very, very nervous tonight. So I want to thank you guys for having me back, or having me on, so that I could come back with an amazing supportive chat and hosts. But I also want to thank the chat for all the things. Okay, so what's the most convincing sighting you or someone you were with has experienced firsthand? That's the one. It's right there at the bottom. I just scrolled for like 7 days to get to that comment.
I can't even find it now. I've had it marked, and now
I know. Varax just put it like just right there. My mom's experiences, probably her first actual sighting, definitely is the reason that I believe, and that one sits with me. And then I've had a lot of not sightings. I haven't had a sighting actually. I've had a lot of experiences over the years that
In
have
here, I'll get all
kept
the
me
noises.
going. Yeah, say I'll get the noises, I'll get the activities, but the
Rock
actual
throwing,
sightings,
all that stuff.
yeah, I'll get all the
Screamed at in
fun
the dark.
all the fun things that you wish would lead up to a sighting. Yeah, I'll get all those. But probably my mom's sighting, her first encounter where she saw one. She was on her porch and she was hearing something across the street, and she was on the phone with a researcher actually, and he said, well, why don't you pop up your spotlight and look at it? And so she popped up her spotlight and went across the tree and the bamboo thicket and went back to the tree, and there it was leaning around looking at her, and she could see its face, its arm, its shoulder. She said it was built like a basketball player, just very lanky but very muscular. And then it kind of ducked behind the tree and went away, and she doesn't remember anything after that. She kind of blacked out and came to on her couch. And this thing, I mean, it just changed her life, because she told me we were talking about this over the weekend when we were porch squatching. She said, I thought I believed until I saw one. And then I realized I had never truly believed. And now, I saw one and it was like irrefutable. My mind glitched because this thing's not supposed to really exist. And even though I thought it did, I didn't really think it did. And it changed my whole life. And so that would be the sighting. She went the next day, she went out there. She had a friend come down from Dallas, and they went out there and they were looking, and the area where it had been standing was just bare. like something had been standing there, because where it was, you could see across the street into the window where she would wash dishes. And so something had been standing there for a long time, over and over and over. And she said another thing is the smell. There was this smell, and it was like barf and poop and something else that she can't even, like a musk.
Trash.
And it was this awful, awful smell, but they couldn't find the source of the smell. There was nothing that gave off the smell. It was just in the area. Anyway, so she had a friend hold up a hat on a PVC pipe to the area where she saw its face. And so anyway, they did their little thing. And yeah, so that was her first sighting. That was her first real experience, and that kind of sealed the deal for me. It's one of my favorite encounter stories. She's had quite a few since. I've heard a lot, obviously, thousands probably at this point. I've experienced them, but I have not had a sighting. I had one of the more interesting experiences we had. Someone had a sighting. A lot of people have had sightings while I'm with them, but I did not see it. So that's always really fun. But we were actually canoeing over behind Alex Smith Park in the bayou. And so there's a gun range over there too. And someone was shooting, and we were back there. And so the gun range, I don't know how it's set up, but let's just say
I just listened to this story today.
Did you really? So things were going, the bullets were going over the berm. And so we could hear it just whizzing past us. And we're just like, oh my God. So Dustin, my friend, he starts screaming, hey, we're back here. We're back here. A few minutes later, one hits the tree right next to us. Well, at that time, we had kind of stopped because we thought we had seen something moving. Tanya Nite was with us, and she thought she saw something moving. And we were facing the backside of the lake, and another bullet whizzed by and hit a tree, just bap, and this thing takes off running. And Bill Kaufman was in the canoe, and he saw this thing take off running from behind the tree, and it went behind another tree, and we sat there. And so he's got cameras, like we're all ready, we're watching this tree, and it never came out. There was nothing behind the tree. But he saw something run behind the tree when that bullet hit the other tree. It's like it had been paralleling us. And when the bullet hit the tree, it scared the crap out of whatever it was, and it shot to the next tree, but never came back out. We don't know if it belly crawled off, if it opened a portal, hopped through. I don't know. Whatever it did.
Wow.
But it was pretty crazy. That was another favorite story.
Wow.
Yeah, Jerry's actually he's seen some really good eye shine not far from here.
Yeah, it's unmistakable.
Road at night.
It is unmistakable.
Right down the street here. It's unmistakable. The audio I've heard, or vocalizations. Of course, I've seen one too when I was a kid. But
Man, lucky.
don't let Maryland fool you. Harford County, Maryland is.
I don't rule out any place really. I grew up in Altus, Oklahoma, and we've seen them there.
Yeah, this place is amazing.
Yeah,
Not saying this is
there's a lot of
the
places.
Bigfoot Mecca, but
My goodness, as I live and breathe, digger dog. I could not have sounded more country saying that, but yeah.
You got some of your old friends in here.
I do.
Yeah.
It's
awesome.
always really good to see some friendly faces. Meeting them in person is pretty great. Pyro, actually. So Pyro was in my chat for years and years and years. Cool guy. I went to the Stillwell conference, Bigfoot conference, and I sat down at a table. There was this gentleman, and I said, can I sit here? And he's like, yeah, go ahead. We're sitting there eating burgers and chatting with this nice gentleman that's sharing his table with us. And I don't even know, probably like 15 minutes into the Matt Knapp.
There's Matt Knapp.
Oh my God. He knows exactly what I'm doing too. So Matt is one of my dearest
reading the
friends,
chat. Yeah.
and he knows I'm reading the chat. God, it's a double-edged sword having old faces in the
We're
chat.
bringing all sorts of
Yeah.
heavy hitters in here tonight.
Matt would be a great one to have on. He's got experiences out the wazoo.
I love Matt's stories.
They're really good. He's a good storyteller, and they're true.
The one where he almost poked the stump was probably my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. Indian tacos. Sorry, it was not burgers. It was Indian tacos. Anyway, about 15 minutes into this conversation, this guy goes, "By the way, I'm pyromedic," and I'm just like, I lost my mind. I'm like, what? Like, you've been sitting here just keeping your secret identity, and you've been in my chat for years. Like,
Some people are
you know,
shy.
I know he just didn't. I mean, and he had some great stories, some great pictures to share. So every time I see him, it's really exciting. And no, Matt Knapp is not related to George Knapp. So there's that. I'll just say that for him because he gets that a lot.
You're going to have your hands full when you start back up next month.
I hope so. I
Yeah.
hope that
Yeah.
people
I'm looking
haven't
forward to
forgotten about me, that'd be great. So yeah, I'm really excited to come back. I've missed it. I really have. I'll be honest, last year was kind of rough personally, and so I just had to take a little break and figure out what I had to bring to the table in the Bigfoot community. And Nightcrawler's Bigfoot Radio will always be around because I do have some pretty awesome things to bring to the table there. But my newest thing is kind of where I landed, and I'm pretty excited to take anyone that wants to come. I'm pretty excited to take you along on the journey with me.
Awesome.
Please come visit me. I will ask these very nice gentlemen if I can post the link over there, and
Absolutely.
yeah, you guys can come join me on the Nightcrawler. So you'll have to split your membership here, and you'll become a night crawler. That's what my listeners are called. They're night crawlers. We have an awesome logo, which I will share at some point, but it's a belly crawling Bigfoot eating Nightcrawler worms, and so yeah, so.
Yeah, you would love to get in the Gettysburg area. That is.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
We've got an area in the county next to us that we call it the peninsula for safety reasons. So random people.
Yeah,
don't
keep
go
people
over
out of there. The thing is, there's two
That
camps.
place has got so much activity. That would be another awesome place to have a camp out too.
There's two campgrounds there, so there's plenty of places to stay. One campground is within the forest. I'm just going to use the word the forest on the peninsula. But it's definitely tracks have been pulled out of there. There's a couple different people that's been involved in there.
All right. Well, you talked me into it.
Yeah.
I will see you guys in July. Seems I don't know what the seasons are like up there, but I haven't been to Maryland, so I mean,
hot, so
yeah. Oh,
hot and humid. So
it's down here. I live in a swamp, pretty much like the piney woods meet the swamp. So, my hot and your hot are probably two different things. So
Let me tell you something. It gets hot here. It gets hotter here than it used to. I don't know.
yeah, it's ridiculous. July and August is horrible. But
yeah,
same here. It's pretty gross. I got to be honest. I don't know if I want to run into a Squatch this time of year because I can only imagine what they smell like, and they probably feel the same way about me. But I can only imagine what they smell like, honestly. So
that smell that you mentioned earlier, I added the term trash in with that because I smelled that out back here one night. It just, I don't know, maybe it was fall too. And usually fall is everything that's happened here in this area has been fall, October. And,
we used to have kind of a
stench is horrible.
We used to have kind of the lock on which seasons were the Bigfoot seasons, so it was like fall and spring, right? Now it's kind of all the time. It's like just depends on where you go. But I've smelled a lot of different Bigfoot smells, or what I think is Bigfoot. So I've smelled urine, like zoo animal. I've smelled cow manure when they were around. We were also in the middle of a cow pasture, but whatever. But the smell didn't get strong until we started having activity. So it was weird. I've smelled skunk. I've smelled like a mildewy log smell. I've smelled the trash smell. I have smelled just god awful smells. Yeah, you can bite into the smell. Like it was just a wall of funk knock you over. The weirdest one I had was I smelled a musky smell, but it was like a sweet musk.
Oh.
And I had a male Bigfoot researcher tell me one time that was a female and that she was trying to entice him. I don't know how she felt about me, but apparently she thought I was cute because I smelled it also. But it was really weird because it would be over here, and then all of a sudden it would be over here, but we didn't hear any noise, and it was really weird, very creepy. Like I'm not gonna lie, I immediately was like, Skinwalker. It's a Skinwalker. It's coming to get me. I just know it. That's another thing on my no list: skittering creatures and Skinwalkers. I don't play with that.
Well,
No.
We had that. The smell here stopped me in my tracks. I mean, look, I'm pushing the wheelbarrow, and it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
right now. And to my leftward, I was pretty sure the wind was coming from my left a little bit. And that's open hayfield. It goes back to a woods, so I don't know. You couldn't see because it was dark, but you could definitely.
I mean, that lady Squatch probably put on her best perfume for you, and you called it trash.
She's trashy.
She's trashy.
Yeah, we have a rake, Jeff. You tell the rake story, Jeff, real quick up the road.
Oh yeah. Well, I also have.
Rake.
There's also a place in West Virginia that I'm pretty sure it's the only Dogman encounter that I've had. I know it wasn't Bigfoot related because I just got a real creepy feeling off of that thing. But Green Mountain in West Virginia, that place can kiss my butt. I will never go back in there without a tank. But that's one of those places that you back out with all of your safeties clicked off and till you got back to the truck, and we can talk about that on your show. You'll love that one. But
yeah, please save that one for my show for sure. I've had some of those where it's like you can't wait to get out of there, but also as you're leaving, you still don't feel safe. Like you feel like it's about to crawl through the window and get you. Yeah, I've had.
I was asleep in my hammock that night, and we stayed there for 3 more nights. And I thought I heard something early in the morning, like sniffing around outside my tent. And I was trying to reach over here to find my Smith & Wesson, and my hand was asleep, so I had to try to reach over with my left hand. And then,
that's about right.
Of course, about that time, my buddy that's in the hammock next to me goes, "That was you snoring, dumbass. Wake up."
Yeah.
Sorry.
Little people experience.
I haven't had a confirmed little person experience. Let's just say that same spot where I soloed a couple weekends ago. I had an experience, and it was that night that my friend and I were camping out there, and he had gone to his truck. I went to my tent, and my dog Duke was in there with me, and he started. I was asleep. I woke up to blood pouring down the inside of my tent, like rain, but on the inside of my tent, and it was blood. And I woke up and I was like, what the hell, Yeah. I'm freaking out. And then I blink and it's gone. And I was getting that oppressive feeling again. And I was like, this place blows. Like, this is creepy, right? And so then I was laying there. Well, then Duke started freaking out, and it was like he had something on his face, and he was like scratching his face, and he started running around the tent, scrubbing his face on everything. And he got back up there and he's whimpering. And I'm just like, what is going on? And I don't know why. I just had this this thought in my mind. It's little people, and they're messing with him, and they're messing with me. And because it was that place gives off a very weird vibe. And so if you know anything about my show, you know that while I don't generally mess with the paranormal or the fae or the little people. I don't really delve into that, because Bigfoot, when you leave the woods, it stays in the woods. Other things come home with you. But I do pay them respect. Like, I am respectful of their existence. And so I said out loud, I said, if you leave him alone, if you leave us alone for tonight, I'll give you a gift in the morning. And I just said it out loud, and literally it all stopped. It's like the oppressive feeling went away. Duke stopped scratching, started snoring. I didn't have any weird dreams after that. Didn't have the oppressive feeling again. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, that's weird. So I got up in the morning. I always bring pastries on my campouts. And so I got up and I found this the night before when we were hiking, I found this little like root rock. it was the base of a tree, and it was like a little bitty cave, just a little bitty entrance to God knows what, a portal. I have no idea. And so I put that little pastry there and I said, thank you. And I went away. And then after that, every time I camp there, I've left like a little Bigfoot keychain. I've left tobacco. I've left pastries. I always leave a gift when I camp there now because I really don't want to be messed with by whatever's there. And so that would be my only experience there. I don't know if it was little people. I do know it stopped when I acknowledged it and gave it treats. So this last time I gave it a crystal
or something.
Yeah.
It's a very creepy place. But this last time it was weird. I didn't feel anything there. I felt nothing but safe. I felt safe there, very safe. And I mean, I can only imagine it's because I took Brian Terrell's advice and I talked to the Bigfoots. I don't know. Mostly I was just talking to my dog.
In my head is what I normally do. I say it in my head, and a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. I've done that too. So that's what I did this last time. I just kind of had some conversations, and I was like, okay, cool. You know, like I'm gonna just talk while I walk, and so I did, and I felt really weird at first, and then after a while, it was kind of therapeutic. So, and I just felt safe. I truly just felt safe the entire trip, and it was really nice compared to my last solo camp out that ended in chaos and shenanigans. So Cindy, we are not telling embarrassing little Lauren stories. Cindy Goodbreak has known me since I was a small child, so she knew the little Lauren that got into this. And I am so sorry that you had to see me or interact with me as a teenager. I am so sorry. Black eyeliner and an attitude the size of Texas. That's all I got to say. It was bad. It was bad.
That happens a lot today.
Have you ever had a crawler experience?
I think the one that crawled up and growled, and I don't know if it crawled. It could have been on all fours for all I know. I just know that they're pretty big, and the bush that it was behind, it came from the base of the bush, and so I can only imagine that it belly crawled. Other than that, I have not personally had one. It is like my greatest fear to have one belly crawl up to me. But my mom's had one, and I've heard
like that story about the one getting the woman from underneath the car.
Oh, stop!
Oh my gosh,
that one. That just.
I would have a serious problem with one down on all fours. Belly
or just the spider finger.
Yes.
Blah. Like I just.
Exactly.
I can't. Like you combine spiders and skitters in the form of
standing,
Bigfoot.
running up in a tree.
I find that to be highly disrespectful. Highly disrespectful.
That pale crawler that Jerry was saying.
Yeah.
Not far from here, literally on the other side of the river, like a 15-20 minute drive.
15-minute drive, really.
Yeah. There's a area. It's a
Muddy Run Reservoir.
Muddy Run, and it's a recreational place, but it's also a power plant. And there's a drop off. We call it the Great Divide, and you don't want to look out that way while you're driving because there's literally a guardrail and then nothing. Right. And there's a chain link on this side where the reservoir is
on the left. Yep.
And one of the guys that used to spread manure for us, he was coming back probably from here at night.
Lots of those in the Bigfoot community.
Taking equipment home or whatever. And he said he sees this thing crawl over the chain link and come down onto the road, and it like turned and shielded itself. And he said it was just all pale, and it kind of shielded its hand, put its hand up, and then it just kind of went over to the guardrail and climbed over and disappeared. And that's like a sheer drop off.
Yeah.
They I've seen trackways where one just, because Michael Caine, I don't know what he's calling himself today, but he showed me how to track them and how their footsteps are and where to look. And it was super insightful. It was my favorite part of the Daniel Boone expedition. But he showed me how they would just reach out and just grab trees and just straight up an incline. And then how they would stand on the side of an incline. He said that it's a martial arts pose. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically triangulating your feet to where you're leaning back on your heels. And the way that they would do it, they can look just pretty much straight up and just stand on the side of this incline and then just keep going, just pulling, grabbing, stepping. It's the amount of muscle it takes to do that. I certainly don't have that. But it's fantastic to think about, like, just how quickly they can just bloop, right up the side of a mountain, just,
Yeah.
You hear me before you see me. That's why if you ever watch any of my adventure videos of hiking, there's going to be music dubbed over it because, I'm fighting for my life.
Mary, you got to tell us about that.
Yeah.
You may have, and I just don't remember it. But
I'm just going to leave that to her because that's terrifying. I just cannot. Yeah. The belly crawling Bigfoot, my mom had that experience, and the only reason she saw it was because the moonlight was glinting on its back, and she saw something move on the ground, and the moonlight glinted on its back, and she looked and she realized it was him, and he was crawling up towards her. And finally, her friend said, "That's close enough," and he stopped, and he just sat there. And so this was back, we have our front porch now. It's this giant, beautiful screened in front porch where you feel it's like sleeping in a tent. You're not safe with that little piece of nylon between you and the elements, but you feel safe. And so we have this screen, and so we feel pretty safe. But back then, the porch was like maybe 5 foot in width, and there was no screen, and the woods were right there. And so when this thing was belly crawling, I mean, it was right there, and it could have reached out and touched her. And so I just don't know. Some of the things she's experienced, I'm like, how are you sane? And probably this is why I haven't had a sighting, because I would probably not fare very well. Yes. Something grabbed my mom's toes through the tent. You need to have my mom on, and she'll tell all these stories for you. But yeah, so she actually had something grab her toes. I know. I'll send that list to you. She had something grab her toes through the tent. She's had a lot of crazy experiences. She had something.
Todd just said he had one under his truck too.
The belly crawling Bigfoot and the Dogman, I'm going to leave those to you nice people in the chat. I politely and respectfully disagree and decline. And
we've got Dogman reports within a couple miles of here.
No,
and Jerry has something that he caught on video on trail cam, camping down by the river.
Sure, yeah.
That looks like it's got a snout and ears.
You brought that up about having that little thin piece of vinyl between you and the wilderness.
Yeah.
I have a 30-foot RV, and I don't feel safe sometimes in that.
No.
Especially after catching that photo. So.
Yeah, Brian made sure when I was in the Kaimichis, I told him, I'm camping out there, and he was like, yeah, he's like, actually, so where are you at? And I showed him on the map, and he's like, oh, cool. He's like, yeah, I've actually had a lot of Dogman reports out of there. And I'm like, you could have kept that to yourself. You chose violence instead, sir. Maybe that's what I was feeling out there that was so very hostile. But
yeah, it definitely gives off a different vibe.
My mom had a experience that she doesn't really like to talk about. She said she feels like it's very taboo. Like she feels very like she doesn't feel good talking about it. Like there's something there. But she had an encounter where she saw something, but it was the feeling that came over before, and her electronics stopped working. She had just charged the batteries, just quit working. And she saw this thing, and she said it just felt bad. Like it just felt bad. Like it wasn't supposed to be there. It wasn't. She thought it was just a Bigfoot, but there was just the way she said that it walked. She said it was like a Nubis. It walked like a Nubis, just straight up and with a.
Yeah, creepy.
No.
Yeah. Next subject.
Yeah. Next subject. I'm good on that. I probably couldn't even handle seeing like a baby Bigfoot at this point. So
We've got
Actually,
a friend
that
from
would be great.
PA that's actually seen a baby Bigfoot, and I'm surprised she's
I've-
not in here tonight.
I have a lot of reports that have come in of them seeing baby Bigfoot or when they were kids playing with small Bigfoot. I think that would be fantastic for a first sighting, except that I would probably try to take it home with me. But like other than that, I think that would be fantastic. So, yeah. Oh,
What about
goodness.
like tree structures and stuff? Do you feel? What's your opinion of those? Have you really know? I'm sure in your as many years as you've been out and about, I'm sure you've seen something that sparks
I've-
the interest. Like,
Oh,
is that natural?
absolutely. I've seen a lot of things that were just there's no way nature could have done it, because that's the first thing, is like if there's any way possible that nature could have done this, a flood, a tornado, whatever, if there's any way possible nature could have done it, then I'm like, I'm very skeptical. And you'll find that I'm very skeptical. Like 9 times out of 10, I'm going to absolutely tear it apart and say, this is why this is not Bigfoot, because I believe that that's how we're going to solve this subject. You have to find what isn't Bigfoot in order to find what is Bigfoot. But I've definitely seen a few that were very interesting that I've taken pictures of. There's lots of the weaving that I've seen, the arches. The ones that really fascinate me are like the asterisks, where it's like they're all in there and it's like a big spiky ball. And I've seen those a lot, and not a lot, but I've seen those. So in my presentation that I give, I actually have pictures of that. And I don't know what made it, but it's very interesting to me. I have seen, what's interesting to me is not so much the stick structures in the woods. I see those a lot. 95% of them are naturally made. You just got to go over there and investigate. The ones that get me are the ones on the ground. So when like the glyphs, those are Luke Gross. Again, you should put him at the top of your list. I started noticing them because of him and his research. And then I still don't know what they mean, but that's whatever. That's Bigfoot for you, right? Like, I don't know what any of it means. But I noticed when in this one place in Oklahoma, when I would leave camp, I'd walk along this trail, and when I'd come back, there would be an X over the trail. And then there's another place, it's right across the highway where I camp, back in there where I camped this past weekend. And it's a little game trail. And I went up the game trail, and I actually had to go use the bathroom over there. And I came back, and there was a little X across the trail. And I don't know what it means, but I know that they weren't there before. The first time it happened, there was these little burnt pine saplings, itty bitty little things, and they were pulled out of the ground and placed over the trail. I don't know what it means, but it's definitely interesting.
Yeah. One of our friends in chat, Dusty, goes by D Shizzle in there. He's actually up in the Gettysburg area where I actually met him during the camp out. And he was telling me up there somewhere he had been putting corn out when he used to live up there for the deer and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He said one time he went back and all the corn was gone, and there were 2 pine cones crossed over each other, like laying on top of each other, right where the corn was.
I see, and I don't know what it means. But it's interesting.
More corn.
I mean, yeah, they're saying thank you. Maybe. I did have someone. I won't say who he is because I don't know if he wants me to share that. But I had someone share with me.
Corn cobs. I'm sorry. It was corn.
That makes more sense. I thought maybe they were the long, skinny pine cones. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I had someone show me. So when you're out there, and you're near water, kind of, basically it would be like a stick, and it would be laid in the fork of a tree. And he showed it to me, and I was like, okay, I see that all the time, right? Well, then he said, lean around and look. And so I leaned around the tree and I looked, and the next tree way down there had a stick in the fork there. And he said, now follow it. And so we walked, and every time we got to one and looked around, we would follow it to the next one, and it led us to water. He said, I've had these lead us to water. I've had these lead us to a man-made trail, like a hunting trail. He said, I don't know what they mean unless they're leading to something like, hey, watch out, this is a man trail. Hey, watch out, here's some water. I don't know. But that is something that I have seen with my own eyes that I do look for now, because it's just, I don't know what it means, but it's really interesting. So I document it and go on about my way and add it to my list of things. I guess I'll ask Bigfoot when I find one. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool? That was the whole idea. You notice the thumbnail. You're actually making one sit there and being interviewed.
Man, I love that thumbnail. That was awesome. I got really, really excited. I'm a kind of, because you see my logo here, and I'm like, man, I kind of want to redo my logo.
I might have to steal that.
I mean, because,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Gary's been getting into playing with this AI stuff.
Yeah. Very minor, very minute stuff. Yeah.
Hey, listen, AI's fun. I was very against it. I still have Jonathan Dodd still does all my artwork for me for everything, but I do love playing with AI. Chat GTP, we're getting pretty serious. So, but I ask Chat GTP stuff all day, every day.
What about like rocks and rock stacking and stuff like that?
That I honestly, I just can't, because if I'm out there, that means other humans are out there, and that means another human could have done it.
We've seen stuff in areas where people don't normally go, and that's the only time I would.
You think they don't normally go, but you're out there.
If I was going to say, if you're there,
you're there, and bare footprints, like bare human footprints, and people aren't out here, and I'm like, but you're out there, so they probably think the same thing about you. So it really has to be special for me to
until you find one that's like 16 inches long, and then
whenever they're like significant, it's not a human, but
like when I put it up next to my size 11, and it makes me look like
I found one track in my whole life, and I actually found it on accident. I found it on accident because I dropped my lip gloss the week before there. And I was walking with my kids, and I looked down, and I was like, what is that? And I was like, that's my lip gloss. Oh my God. Because we had hiked there the week before. This was around Falk, Arkansas. And I got over there to it, and I leaned down, and I picked it up, and I went to take a step, and I was just like,
ooh,
that looks like a track. And at first I looked at it because it had 2 deer hoof prints in it, like next to it, and I was like, okay, whoa. I was like, that can't be what it is, because I've never found a track like that's not what I'm just clearly very unobservant. Fantastic Bigfoot researcher. So then I immediately had my kids, I'm like, stop. I'm like, you guys, I need y'all to move away, and then I need Adam, I need you to come help me track this. So can you see this track? Can you see the next track? And we're going to like find the pathway. So we found like 2 tracks. I took pictures, sent them to Stephen Hill. And I said, hey, I found this over by Carter Lake. And he's like, yeah, he said, so this is more than likely a female Bigfoot of the area. He said they have longer, slimmer feet. So that was really exciting. That was super exciting for me. So that one's in my presentation as well. It's a very what not to do, because I didn't put anything down in the picture to compare it to. So I used that one.
Actually,
there you go.
Sent me pictures this week of a track he found in the yard.
Yeah,
I don't doubt it at all. I don't doubt it.
And he is right next to Creepy Mountain.
No, the Bigfoot did not use my lip gloss. I'm very sad. I could have gotten some DNA from that, but I did not.
Bigger dog, 26 inch, the biggest I've found. Wow.
Yeah, I've seen. I think the biggest I've seen is probably.
Well, Kane's got one. It's
I want to say 24
or something.
Yeah, it's crazy. One of the craziest stories I experienced was a friend of mine had a 20-inch track, and he had it in this giant cast. And I went to his house for kind of a get-together bonfire thing. It wasn't even Bigfoot related. All his neighbors and friends were there. And we're hanging out. Everything had kind of died down. Everybody's drinking, whatever, having a good time. He brings out this track. Well, there was a veteran there. And this guy walks over and he sees it, and he immediately has a PTSD meltdown, and I mean meltdown. And it took us, my friend and I sat with him for probably 4 hours by ourselves, and it took us, 4 hours to get it out of him that he had seen the giant in the Kandahar giant. He had witnessed that, and he was crying. He had snot running down his face. He's shaking. He's hyperventilating. I kept trying to leave because I thought, well, if I'm here, maybe I'm making him upset because he doesn't really know me. And every time I'd leave, he's like, no. Tell her to come back. Bring her back. I want her in here. And I'm like, dude, like, I don't know what's going on. And so he finally shared that experience. And then it was hard for me because I'm like, that's on YouTube. Like maybe, maybe veterans see that and they're like, well, I served and whatever. I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm very skeptical. And so I was like, I don't know. But his reaction to seeing that print, it was just undeniable, his physical and mental reaction. And then at the end of it, he got mad. Like he was veins popping out of his neck. He was so mad at my friend and I for going out in the woods and looking for creatures like this when he would do anything in his life to forget that he ever witnessed that. And so I to this day, I don't know if he actually saw what he saw, but it impacted me a lot. It impacted me.
Reaction, I would probably say
it was a very impactful reaction. It changed the way that I interviewed and the way that I took witness encounters because, I've been in the game forever. And so someone tells me something and I'm like, oh, wow, cool. You saw that? After that, I had a lot more respect for the Bigfoot witnesses that would come forward and share their stories with me because this is a life-changing event. Right. The giant of Kandahar is not a Bigfoot. It's a completely different species of something. But he shared a lot more detail about that, which I don't really feel comfortable sharing because it's not my story. But the details that he shared not only match up with what I've seen and what I've, researched on my own about the giants of Kandahar, but just there was more detail to it that isn't shared about like the underground base and the prison cells and stuff like that. And just it impacted me greatly because there was apparently a level of cynicism and jadedness when I was interviewing people or taking witness accounts, and just kind of, okay, cool. Like, thanks for sharing, and then after that I was like, this is a life-changing experience. This rocked somebody's world. This has caused divorce. This has caused, people self-exiting. This has caused, psychiatric episodes. Like, this has changed lives for people. And so I had a lot more respect after that because it really got to me that it impacted him so much. And then also I had more respect for going out in the woods because he's right. We're willingly going out and searching for this awful, terrible thing that has changed other people's lives. And so so I guess I should have answered with that one up there on that other question because it's crazy. It's just, it was
I just can't imagine running into something with that sheer size to it.
Sherry, I have actually heard, yes. Yeah. I don't know exactly what they felt, but something changed atmospherically around them. Yes. I've heard
I don't know about
of that.
I don't know. I've had what I call infrasound or getting zapped to the point to where it's almost like a fuzziness in my ears, like it's just like you just very subdued and like that, but I don't know about the ears popping or the pressure change part, but I think that would be very interesting.
Yeah. I can't remember. Jeff, we had somebody on our show that's been a while back said something about that. I can't remember who the heck it was though.
That's
the pressure change. I'm trying to remember.
That's just like a presence, pressure change. The word pressure was actually used. But I can't remember who it was.
I've experienced that pressure before. Not a lot, but
See,
I usually get a pretty good feeling when I've had stuff around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
And
have the
it's
pressure
always
on my
been
chest
not
and
looking for
stuff.
Bigfoot. I've
Yeah.
never been looking for it when it seems to happen. It's always when I'm out, you know,
And
doing
that could be
something
what
else.
that question is
Unobservant.
infrasound. So
Yeah. I was gonna say something a minute ago. Well, poop. I can't remember now. Something about something that was very
Now, do
important.
you use a thermal at all?
I don't. So I don't. If somebody has one there, I'll pick it up and play with it. But no, I use my audio recorder, and I guess over the years, I was very track them, do the data, do the evidence, do the things, and now I'm just at a point. I'm like, I guess I've become more of an experiencer. I still document.
Yeah.
I do. I still document. I still have my audio recorder. I still have my notes app. That's what I use. I document time, sounds, locations, smells, all of that. I take pictures. I document that way. I just, maybe I'm old school, or maybe I'm just an experiencer now. I don't know. But yeah, the thermal thing, I just feel like they're too smart. And yeah, there have been a lot of people that say, "Oh, I've seen one on thermal," and I'm like, "Okay, cool." Share with the class, or same for night vision, drones. I think all those are fantastic. I just don't. It doesn't resonate for my research style. I like to go out. I like to hike around, see what I see, go on an adventure, and then come back and sit around camp and chat, and let them come to me, and let them come nose around camp while I'm in bed, because that is their favorite thing to do. Actually, we were talking about X's before the show started, and probably the worst thing I've ever done. But in the name of research. So really, is it the worst thing? I woke up, it was like 3 a.m. Squatch hour, and I was hearing two bipedal somethings walking around the camp and walking around the tent. And my ex woke up, and we had this little camp potty, and he absolutely could not use that thing because he was like 6'7". Well, so he goes to, you can just imagine. I'll leave that to the imagination. So he goes and he unzips the tent, and I like went like this, like I was gonna warn him, and then I was like, I wonder if he's gonna have a sighting while he's out there. I'm like, huh. So I let him go. I let him go outside to go relieve himself. Didn't say a word to this man that I had heard two things walking around camp for like the last 15, 20 minutes. And he goes out there, nothing happened. He gets back in bed. I didn't say anything till the next day. And I was like, yeah, so last night when you had to go potty, I heard something walking around. I think I didn't even tell him then, actually. I think I was telling someone else while he was sitting there, and he's just like, thanks. And I'm like, I was conducting an experiment, sir. Okay, in the name of research. I was sacrificing at that moment you having a sighting. And even if I didn't get to see it, if you got to see one, I thought that would be so wonderful for you. So I let you go out there as an experiment. So he still wasn't very appreciative, honestly. But yeah, so yeah, would I probably, send all the exes out there to fight the Bigfoot now without feeling bad about it? Yeah, probably so,
Yeah, mine still doesn't believe in it.
Mine either. Yeah. There you go, Mary. I mean, I do put my audio recorder out there, but honestly, it's because is it for the Bigfoot? Sure. If I catch something cool and Bigfooty on that audio recorder, that is awesome. But mostly I put my recorder out because the amount of things that I've heard in the middle of the night when I woke up that are just phenomenal. Like coyotes, wolves, whatever, just going off in the woods, and there's siren calls and all kinds of stuff that's probably not even Bigfoot, but hearing it in the middle of the night, I'm like, yeah, my recorder's out. I caught that. That's badass. I mean, just
I've got some footage I'm listening to right now from one of my recorders. that Jerry knows what I'm talking about. The one I set out for like a whole night.
Mm-hmm.
Set this thing out for like 24 hours on the back of the farm, and I've
Yeah.
just kind of been listening to it every once in a
Yeah.
while. Start it and let it keep playing. And,
That's the worst part.
I'm starting
I
to
know.
hear like pops and like little knocks, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be anything, but stuff that I always heard years ago on the back of the farm and never even thought twice about it. And I swear I heard some sort of footfalls, not far from the recorder, but they didn't sound like any, you know, four-legged animal. But it's I kind of gotta think we're gonna have to go into it more.
On the show.
Pull it
On
on
Night
it.
Callers Bigfoot Radio.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to put
Absolutely.
on a spectrograph or something, and
You do need to do that. Yeah. So I mean, I used to think of that as cheating because, I'm from like back in the day where you had to sit and listen to, Cindy knows 20 to 40 hours of audio from a weekend adventure. And you had to sit there and listen to the whole thing and pick out the pieces. And now you can throw it on a spectrograph or spectrogram or whatever and pick out the high points and you're good. And I'm just like,
well, I'm gonna have to plug it into my computer because I forgot to get a SD card before I used it. So
oh, that's
it's
awful.
wire of the.
I left mine out in the rain. So my recorder, I had texted my mom while I was camping out there and I let her know I was okay. And I pulled everything in. I actually covered the fire pit with a tarp so that I could have breakfast the next morning. I mean, I was prepared. About 5 minutes after I text my mom, it starts coming down like tornadic winds. And I'm like, my recorder is sitting under a rock. But it was fine.
I use a Ziploc bag.
It was fine. It was good to go. This recorder's a beast. So yeah,
it's probably one of those cheap ones that you bought off Amazon or something.
It is. It's from Amazon. It's voice activated, so it doesn't run all night. It just as soon as it hears something loud enough to trigger it, which I have the sensitivity up. I think the worst part is that I've got probably a good 6 hours of me talking to myself on there, and then I'm gonna have to delete, and I'll probably have a Bigfoot something in the middle of that. There will be samurai chatter in the middle of me talking to myself, and I have to present this to the Bigfoot world like, hello, yes, I am crazy. And then also
and Brian Terrell has actually shared some pretty good night camping stuff.
Yeah.
Recordings.
Yeah.
Some of his places, man. And I don't know if you've ever listened to Flat Rock down there in Alabama, but he's got some great stuff at his place.
Yeah, I think I've heard some of it or heard about it, maybe.
He basically just sets everything up outside of his house. He's got all sorts of.
Yeah.
He just researches from inside the house, basically.
I've got.
That's what we do here.
Days, nights, and nights and nights of audio I haven't even touched yet. Someday.
Yeah.
Some pretty crazy recordings here lately.
Yeah. Yeah, it's my mom. So she lived out here alone for a very long time, and she would set up her recorder, and she actually had something hit the side of the house. I mean, she's had some pretty crazy stuff go down here on the property, and so same. We can just set it up outside and go hang out and wait to see what we catch.
I want to try using my parabolic a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my mom, she's always used parabolic, like that's her favorite piece of audio equipment.
It's great what you can hear with it.
Well, she can't find a good one anymore. Like she had a good one, it broke, and so she ordered one, I think, off Amazon, and like you just can't find good ones. So you'll have to shoot me
worked out pretty good. So
you'll have to shoot me a link for it because I think she would love
that. It's a 5-in dimer, but it really works well.
It does, as long as it works, because I think she bought 2 different ones and they each didn't work, and so her ex-husband had to like rig them together to make one working parabolic. So having a good one of those is.
Flat Rock built his.
Yeah.
Well, back in the day, that's what you did. You had to build it. So back in the day.
You put 2 soup cans together.
Back in the day when you had to walk uphill in the snow both ways. So that's about what it felt like, having to get up every few hours and change the cassette to a different side and press play. And I mean, that's how we had to record back.
It's like the old days when they talked about lugging the big recorders out there and running the battery.
Yep. So you had to change the batteries.
You had the battery into the woods, and
I mean, you had. Yep. Back in the day, we had a very different situation. We had camcorders, that had the tapes in them, and you had to put batteries. Yeah, that whole thing. Yep. Yep.
And then you
So,
hear the stories about people catching stuff on video while they're out there setting up stuff.
so my mom was one of the first people to kind of do, well, not the first people, but she was very early on. She was one of those that, thought about filming over her shoulder as she was walking out, and she caught a face
Like what
as she
Scott
was walking
Carpenter
out.
did.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of fun to see everything kind of reinvented over the years, like either with different tech or different people think they're having the first idea of this ever. And I'm like, people have been around for a long time. It pays to talk to the old timers.
Yeah. I've just been
Because
listening to the old timers. I've learned so much.
like, don't reinvent the wheel, work smarter, not
No,
harder.
And you don't have to.
Like talk to Matt Knapp and my mom and, Cindy Goodbreak, Bob Dominguez, Luke Gross. These are people who have been out here for 20 plus years. They've tried everything. And I mean, like everything, using women's feminine products to lure Bigfoot in, to using shiny brand new CDs to get the Bigfoot's fingerprints, dolls,
One of the things
dog
around
toys,
here is
everything.
blue balloons. The
I don't
color
know.
blue, for some reason, I've heard that from a few.
I have not heard that.
Finding blue balloons, and I actually went out to the peninsula with this guy that's got like 4 different size cats out there of different ones of a family, and I went out there with him, and we actually found a blue balloon first time I went out there.
Kane Michael, he and I have this thing where we used to find Mylar balloons everywhere we went.
Mylar balloon.
Okay, yeah, and so
And there's
I
a
would
duck
take,
nearby there too.
and I would
There's
take
a duck
pictures
there,
every
too.
time. Yeah.
Tell me how it made it out of the dump all the way to the other side of the 3,700 acre state forest.
Well, to me, it's, people release them for whatever reason. So and so died, so I'm going to pollute the planet in their memory. And so they release them. Well, those end up in the woods and they end up, but it's just weird because
But in the
every
places you
single
find
time
them-
I go hiking,
It's
I
where
find
you
one.
find them that's
Yeah.
the weird place.
yeah, it's weird. I don't know what
I got a friend that
but
called me the other day because he was out in a area for turkeys over across the line in Pennsylvania and found. He's like, "Oh, there's another one." And
It's
he actually
crazy.
had some weird sounding bird follow him out of there that day while he was,
Nice.
and he was with me when we got screamed at. And over here at right at the back of the farm here, and that's why I don't work on deer stands after dark anymore. You'll get to hear that full story.
I can't wait. I have a few people in my life who do not hunt in the dark anymore. They are in there at daybreak and they leave it at, dusk.
I don't stay out as late as I used to.
Yep. It takes that
In fact,
one.
my buddy Josh, he was here one day. He doesn't care if I talk about it, but he doesn't. He's not one of the ones that you'd ever be able to drag out onto a show. But it was archery season, and he was putting all of his scent-free clothing away, and it was getting dark. And I mean, it was already dark because he's one of those guys that will stay out till you can't see anything, and then he climbs down. Well, he's over there taking all of his clothes off and putting his work clothes back on to drive home. And he said he was half undressed, standing next to the truck, and he hears like this grumbling or whatever start up in the brush about 20 feet from him. And he said he stopped. He shoved everything in the back of the truck, closed the door, stepped in half undressed, and shoved his bow on the back seat and got in the truck and fired it up and drove up to my barn and finished dressing.
Oh gosh. One of my favorite stories was my ex-husband's friend, and he had an experience like that. He had gone in there like 3-4 in the morning to go get set up, and he had gotten out of the truck, and he had I think he had like sweatpants on under overalls or something, and he got out and his sweatpants were falling down, And so he's standing there and he reaches into his pants to pull his sweatpants up. And right about that time, something landed in front of him. And I may not be telling it right, but I've told it on my show if you want to go check it out. But it landed in front of him, and he could feel the breath hitting him right here.
Ooh.
On his forehead, and he's just standing there and he's holding his pants.
Not even looking up.
It was pitch black. He can't see anything.
Yeah.
And so he's just standing there and he's thinking, I can't get to the flashlight. Well, the thing, whatever it was, it like leans and then it just takes off. And so he pulls his hands out of his pants and grabs his flashlight. And I mean, just that quick, shines it. Whatever it was down, and 60 feet. I don't know how far away it was. 40 foot. Well, it was already down the lane, and the grass at the end of the lane that was really tall, it was parted and it was moving. The grass was moving. Man. It was parted, but it was gone. Whatever it was that fast.
Was this like at his house or something?
No, so this was out in the middle of the woods up by Keystone Lake. Kind of up by Keystone Lake, I think. And
now where's
it's
Keystone?
one of my favorites.
Is that in your area?
Sorry, that's around Tulsa area.
Okay.
And it scared him so bad because this thing moved so fast that it's like it was there, gone,
Before
and by the time he popped his flashlight up, it was already gone and the grass was still moving. Wow. And I mean, all I could think was that it was a juvenile playing chicken with him, but I mean, you know, you'll never know. So
that is crazy.
Yep.
We've actually got. I'll have to find it so I can show you, but he would never let me show it publicly. But one of our locals, he's got cloaking pictures.
Interesting.
Of you standing behind a tent. Maybe 3.
They're creepy.
It looks like something from the Predator, Lauren.
I mean, that's a hard no for me.
Like one of them was literally standing over the back of the tent, and the other one was like leaning out from behind a tree.
Have I seen that? I feel like I've seen that before. I saw it. I feel like I've seen that one before. Or heard about it, maybe.
I don't think so because I don't think he ever released it.
Well, I feel like I've seen a post of a tent, and there was one standing over it, but you couldn't really see it. You could just see this hazy outline.
Well, there was like 2 tents, 2 guys sitting at the fire, and then you could see behind the tent.
Mm-hmm. I think that might be worse than belly crawling. Now that I think about it, that might be worse.
I don't know.
That might be worse. That makes me feel very uncomfortable going to the bathroom in the woods.
I'm under the camp of now. I know they're flesh and blood, but I know there's something else going on there.
Yeah,
they can be extremely quiet when they want to be, mm-hmm. and then the other half the time sounds like the forest is falling down.
Yeah, now I'm just picturing one, you're out there doing your business and one just opens a portal right next to you and just appears, and it's...
Now, one of our friends in chat, Pat Noble, was camped at Hollins here recently with Mark Green and them. And thanks for sending me that tent, by the way, Pat. It's the best investment anyone's ever given me. He was actually in his tent this past year and had something unzip his fly on his tent.
Story almost took a turn, gotta say.
Yeah.
I was like, no,
he heard the zipper go and he was like automatically awake.
I mean, I would have holes in my tent. That's all there is to it. I would have a lot of holes in my tent.
He said he had one laying there. It was getting close to that, but there were, too many people camping around him. So.
I just can't.
And you've been to Hollins.
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we found that abandoned tent.
Yeah. A lot of our friends in the chat here have been to Hollins. When I go to see Mark, Creepy Mountain and Hollins are 2 places that I'm. Mark's actually coming to visit in October. Him and Becca are coming up with the camper, and they're going to go up to Gettysburg. And
Take
then,
take them on the gnarliest back road that you can. And actually,
that's
no, scratch that. Take them down an actual riverbed and tell them this is the road to camp.
I got one of
Okay.
them too, right over
You have
here, right across the way.
Good. You have to one up Creepy Mountains Road.
there's
okay,
a place with
because-
a creek. There, we got a place with a creek crossing.
Yep, Tabernacle. That's where I'm gonna take them. Yep.
Now that's a boogery.
Yes, with stories and ghost stories back in there. Yes,
Of course.
Rebecca would be right at home.
All the
Well,
best places
We're gonna
have
do that,
both.
Jerry. We got to carry them to Paper Mill Road
That too, sure.
down,
Take 'em all
down
over,
to
straight,
the
like-
bridge.
But those, I want to say, those photos that he's talking about is probably Flight of the Crow less than a mile from where I got my photo.
That's pretty
Nighttime
cool.
photo. So yeah,
Minus the
And-
cloaking part.
and
that
I
farm
caught-
backs up to the
I
state
caught
park.
a face of something in one of the local spots over here where there's been Dogman encounters and
Mhm.
That's
other
another park. Yep.
strange stuff. But and it's one of those places where if you go in there and if you find somebody broke down on the side of the road, you got to drive to the top of the hill to call to get service.
Yeah, it's down in the hole.
I have a lot
And
of
one
camp
of my
places like
friends the
that.
other night, well, actually, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. He was on his way to work, and he found a car off in the ditch down in there, and had to run up the hill to get service to call for EMS and the sheriff's department, and went back and found this little old woman, probably dementia, sitting in the back seat of her car. This little old black lady by herself. He said the first thing he did when he pulled down there, he goes, "I'm not getting out of the truck without my gun." So he got out and slipped it in his waistband and went over to check on her. And she said that her friends were with her and all this, and no one else was there. And she's like, "Well, my dog's in the back seat, and the only thing was back there was a walker. And he's out on the side of the road by himself
Wow.
back there at 2:30 in the morning."
Nope.
And the sheriff showed up. He's like, "Look, I gotta get going because I gotta have a crane in Virginia by 5 a.m." So they let him go, but she was all the way from Randallstown, Gary.
Why was she there? Don't know.
I
I
don't
guess.
know.
She was looking for
Wow.
Bigfoot.
I mean, it's
She
the
must have-
freaking middle of nowhere too.
She must have been having a
Especially for
dementia.
somebody in
episode.
Randallstown.
But just this
Wow.
little older black lady, probably in her late 70s, must have had some
That's-
sort of episode, and she was right there in the ditch.
Hillary, it is. It is. Any of that
It is.
dementia, Alzheimer's, dealing with it here now.
Yeah.
Yep.
No fun.
It's no fun. It's probably it's pretty brutal. Yeah,
That was what my grandfather had.
mine too. Mine too.
My family has been here their entire lives. He was 93 when he passed last year. And the family farm's been here for over 100 years. We just became a century farm about 2 years ago. And he's
That's pretty
found
cool.
tracks. He's found tracks here. Well, not late, but he's not in the
They were
subject
from Night
anymore.
Callers, Jeff. You're telling all your stories now.
It's okay. It's I
This
have a
isn't even-
feeling. I have a feeling he has more.
Yeah. Well, there was Jerry knows a very local, well-known researcher that used to come to the schools and do talks back when Jerry was a kid.
And a
So he
long
came
time.
up here and checked out those tracks, and
Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
there
Yep,
was
no
actually
chance.
somebody that hit one with a car in the park
Mhm.
back in the 70s.
Yep.
But then the hair samples came back as a Black Angus.
Interesting.
On 2 feet.
Yeah, because Black Angus walked
Car
out.
strikes something on 2 feet, and it came out to be a Black Angus. Black Angus don't walk on 2 feet. So
Oh no, Jerry's cows might. Jeff, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jerry
That's
doesn't have any cows.
I was looking at Jerry talking about Jeff.
used to.
Jerry just has groundhogs in his pasture.
Yeah, I got plenty of them. Well, I used to.
Whenever I was younger and we used to go drive, and go to places to look for Bigfoot, we would be in Oklahoma and we would pass cow pastures. And one of my dearest hopes and dreams, some little girls grow up and they're like, I want to get married or I want to be a princess. One of my dearest hopes and dreams as a preteen was that one of the cows would stand up and then it would be a Bigfoot. And so I used to like laser focus on fields when we drove by because I wanted cows. Like I wanted one cow to just stand up and for it to be a Bigfoot. And then it's, so that's something weird about me that nobody knows until now. That is how I grew up, is thinking about things like that. Going camping or going to city parks with people and I'm looking for Bigfoot tracks. Like that's where.
Well, here's one that I always thought about. How many times have they been by quadrupedal in a pasture?
And you can't tell. Yeah. Yep.
Because the guy over in Northeast area, he's actually seen them quadrupedal. He had them run past him on a trail. And one of them, I think, what did he say, was blonde, and the other one was more like a beige or something, Jerry?
Mm-hmm.
Then right in front of him, he was filming over here, and he heard it and swung, but he couldn't swing the camera in time to catch him.
And see, a lot of people ask me, well, why can't we have all these high-tech gadgets now? Why can't we get a picture? And I'm like, okay, I want you, next time you're at a family reunion, I want you to give a pack of Skittles to a toddler, and then I want you to put your phone in your pocket, and I want you to have that toddler run in front of you. And I want you to get your phone out of your pocket, put it on camera mode, and take the best picture that you can. And now I want you to add to that the toddler is 8 to 12 foot tall, covered in hair, and that you are having literally a mind blown situation. And now tell me again why we don't have any good pictures.
And everyone's always buried in their phones. How many times have I been in the woods, like public land somewhere, and people just walk, or right here at the farm, I'll be out in the woods hunting. Some random person will just wander through and come right past me. Mm-hmm. And unless I go like, hey, and scare the living crap out of them.
Yeah.
I've had friends of mine waiting for me to get up the deer stand, and I walk past them, not even seeing them, and they just, and then I turn and look, and he's like right there staring at me,
I've been pretty oblivious in the woods. I went hiking with a good friend of mine and his wife, and and that toddler is running 50 miles per hour. Yeah. We hiked down to this old barn over by Beach Creek in Oklahoma, and we all hiked in there, looked around, took pictures. It was great. Yeah. We were hiking back out, and my friend's wife is like, there's trail cams on that tree, and what's that hanging from the tree? And we look up, there's a gifting station. Someone had a bag of fruit hanging, and then they had trail cams on 3 trees. All of us walked right by it going in, didn't see it. Wow. And on the way out, the only non-Bigfoot person there was like, hey, look at that. So me being me, I immediately get in the trail cams picture and held up one of my business cards, Night Caller's business cards, and I stuck it behind the strap because, like, by God, if this person catches a Bigfoot, I want to be the first to interview him. Probably 3 months later, Joe Pass messages me, and he's like, hey, I caught you on one of my trail cams, and I forgot all about this. And so I'm like,
the cowboy caught you on one of his cameras?
Yeah. Yes, but I had forgotten about this. And so I'm like, what did you catch me doing? Like, what was I doing? And he's like, yeah, you like put your business card in there. And I'm like, good. That's great. That's fantastic. So did you catch anything? And he's like, no. And I'm like, can I have a copy of that picture though? Or the, series? Like, that'd be great. And so he sent them to me. But yeah, just, it's a small world out there, man. But that's how oblivious all of us were. We walked right by this giant.
We were having an epic show one night, and he jumped on for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Squatching cowboy. Yeah, Tammy, that's what I thought. Basically, at this point, I just assume that somebody has caught my derriere on their trail cam out there squatting to pee, and I'm just like, you're welcome. Happy birthday. I mean, at this point, I just don't worry about it. When you got to go, you got to go. So, yeah. I
mean, I always make a point to pee all around the campsite. I don't know if that does anything, but
I mean, it might just scare them off. But
it hasn't seemed to work because they still come in. So
I mean, yeah, just don't eat asparagus and then do it, I guess. Or maybe that'll attract them. I have no idea. Yeah.
They like stinky smells, so.
They do, and that might be ode to Squatch to them.
I feel like that would be a place, since I don't go there often, I could get away with like leaving them a gift or something. I wouldn't want to do it anywhere around here, but
I mean,
they'd probably steal my deer corn during the hunting season anyway. So,
probably.
because sometimes I'll have a 100-pound pile of corn there for a week and nothing will touch it, and then in one night all the corn's gone. Like somebody went in there and vacuumed it up.
We have hogs here, really, really bad, and
Yeah,
so
we don't have those.
I would pay a Sasquatch to come take out our hog population, and I would feed them in corn and baked goods, whatever.
I love hunting pigs.
I mean, you're welcome to come visit, because we've got a guy that comes and traps on our land and all that, and it's just my boys.
How big of an acreage do you have there?
We have 4 acres, but we're surrounded by 9 acres and 17 acres to the north and south, basically, that is no one's on it, and then on either side there's kind of no one on it. There's like one house here, and so it's just it's crazy. The hogs get really, really bad. My boys got to
one-way door traps to catch them.
He uses one of those. He's used a round pin.
Yeah, where it drops.
Yeah,
so
he's used 2 of those, and then a round pin that he uses.
He's probably gotten a ton of them out of there too.
He's taken quite a few, actually. My boys got to dispatch them this year. They got to learn how to safely and humanely dispatch the hogs. Well, and so there were like 3 babies and a mama, and so we got to take them out. We've caught quite a few others. He was keeping them and fattening them up and then selling them, but the prices dropped out, so he just started dispatching.
Has he ever tried fixing them and letting them loose, or? Because some people do that sometimes.
Nope. Down here, you just get rid of them. I mean, driving down the county road, I've seen the same herd twice now. There's like 3 big mamas and 20 babies.
Oh.
And it's just, you could just drive down the road and just pop, 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 pop. I mean, it's.
My grandparents used
crazy.
to have a place in Florida, and it was like an old folks trailer park area. And every time you drive the golf cart out there to the dumpster at night to go throw your trash in there, I almost ran into a sounder on the golf cart one night.
It's just crazy.
I heard all this ruckus, and I turned the light on, and I could just see the butts of them disappearing next to the dumpster into the palmettos.
They're awful. They're very invasive. They tear up our landscape. They tear up they tear up our landscape. They breed like rabbits. They're nasty. So I'll tell you, as much as I don't want them rooting up the yard, and they're very dangerous to have around when you have small children and pets and livestock, right? The biggest motivator I have for popping a few when I can see them from the porch is my dog. She's the most wonderful dog in the whole world. She actually just jumped on the bed over there. She's beautiful. She's a husky blue heeler mix. Fantastic creature. But she loves to roll and poop. And she loves to roll in dead things. And she loves to roll in hog poop. That's her favorite color.
Oh.
And so,
man,
I am never more motivated to take out a herd of hogs than after giving her 20th bath for the week.
He likes to roll in excrement. I'm glad he hasn't done any of the cow patties, because I would hang him probably.
It's the worst. She loves it, and hog poop's her favorite. She likes cow poop.
And she's got hair.
And she's got this husky hair. It's all silky, so it's like blue heeler husky mix. So, but I found, I'll share this with you since you have a beagle that likes. So you mix.
He gets sprayed by skunks too.
And she's caught a skunk, or our other dog caught the skunk to the face. Char just got a little bit, but you mix hot water, hydrogen peroxide, and
that's what I use.
Dawn dish soap and a little bit of baking soda, and you scrub it in. And it's the only thing that gets down to the pores of their fur, and it's the only thing that gets anything. Is skunk, hog poop, dead things. She likes to bring dead baby animals up here that she kills and finds. And listen, I have a weird life compared to people still living on the homestead. Just the amount of things, like they've killed a coon last week. She killed a baby armadillo the day before that. They chased a bobcat out of the yard. So I'm on my lunch break and I look out the window, and my mom is like,
Grappling rifle.
my mom's like, Shar and sister just chased a bobcat out of the yard. I saw it at the head of the driveway, and I'm like, what the hell? So I grab my pistol and I start taking off up the driveway. I'm chasing them. They're chasing a bobcat. And I'm just like, I live such a weird life. Like, but they ran it off and it didn't come back. And it's taken out quite a few of our chickens. So I'm pretty thankful that they ran that off. But yeah.
We've had mountain lions that don't exist. And one night my dad saw two of our farm dogs chasing it underneath the one of the barn security lights.
See, my mom has had those sightings too. She's seen mountain lions, and then wildlife individuals. No, those aren't here. And she's like, yes, they are. She's like, it had a very long tail. I know what it is.
Jerry will tell you. They tell us there's stuff around here that's not in the state of Maryland. Now we see black bears and mountain lions and.
Down here, it's the wolves too. So we just apparently just have coyotes here. I don't know, but we hear wolves mixed in with the coyotes. We've seen wolves down here, and then in the Fouke area, it's the red wolf. They say it's not there, and then finally, the game warden. I think we were talking to him, and he was like, I don't think he told us it was there, but he told us if we caught anything on audio to let him know. And it's like, okay, friend, we'll do that. We'll do you that solid for you not giving us any information. Tell us if Bigfoot's here, and I'll give you my audio. How about that?
That's like when we were doing our crop damage permits for the deer and the biologist. I'm looking at bear circles in the cornfield, where they roll around.
Yeah.
And I look at them, I'm like, you don't have to tell me, just you don't have to say anything. Just give me some sort of sign.
Like, can you just wink?
And he just stares at the ground and shuffles his feet, and I'm like, oh, that's all I needed to know.
Mm-hmm. Crazy.
This has been an awesome show.
Thank you guys for having me on. This has been really fun.
Yep.
2.5 hours.
2.5
That's got to be
hours.
some sort of record, right?
Well, we've
done. No, it's not. We're not. No.
We've gone in excess.
Over 4.
Almost 5.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We have to start a lot earlier for me to hang with you guys. You guys are too cool for me.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting some of your friends on here and your mom and.
Yeah, absolutely. There's
Cindy Goodbreak. I've heard a lot about Cindy.
Mm-hmm. Cindy's fun people. But yeah, there's a lot of great people to have on. I'm telling you, got to get Luke Gross on. If you can get him on air.
Yeah. Send me his info and
I will absolutely. He's really great. He has a lot of experience, and he's doing a lot of research. He's done 20 years of research with the glyphs, and so so there's a lot of great people. I'll send you a list.
He had Dogman Encounters.
Mm-hmm.
And he's awesome.
Vic? I don't
Vic,
know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, I've been out of the game, man. I don't know anymore.
Vic was on with us, and that was a really good. We've just been talking to some. It's just been an awesome time.
Got some great people on.
Yep. Stephen Hill, he's a really good one to have on.
We got to talk to him.
Yeah. Stephen Hill is a great one.
Him on.
Yep. He's very fun. He's very fun.
And William Lunsford, that's another one I want to.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Chalk, isn't he?
He's Texarkana, but yeah, he researches with Stephen actually. But yeah, Stephen, he's great. He's very humble. He's very, he's a great guy to have on. There's so many people that, that are just out there and they're boots on the ground. They're doing the things.
Hellbent Holler. I was very honored to see them in here tonight.
I've seen them in here before.
I think I had,
But I had them on my show.
I think that's the first time Jeremiah Byron's been in here. I don't know.
JB's one of my very good friends, and I adore that man. I say he's like the embodiment of a dad. Like he's what you would think of if you think of a dad, like New Balance shorts. He's just a dad. Like I remember when we first became friends, you know me, I'm rowdy, like I cuss and I'm loud, and he's just like, I would say things and he's just like, Lauren, I'm gonna have to edit that out, Lauren, and just all the time, Lauren, I have to edit that.
So he's not Spencer Jameson.
No, he's not Spencer Jameson, and so but he's become one of my very dear friends, and so but it's just so funny how far we've come.
I always try to get it out of Mark Green, and once in a while, if we're backstage or something,
yeah.
But
good
the rest
luck.
of the time,
Stephen Hill. So Stephen Hill is like that. Stephen doesn't cuss. He's a very nice man. And the closest I ever got him to cuss, you know, so he was my favorite research partner for a long time. Well, so my driving I think I'm a very good driver. But my driving has been described as Lauren drives like the world is ending. Yeah, Lauren drives like the world is ending and she has to get to wherever she's going before it does. Which, whatever. Yeah, totally. Well, Steven was in the vehicle. I had a car full of people and we were going to Carter Lake. Well, we missed our turn and Steven's like, it was actually back there. And I'm like, okay. So I pop a Yui in the middle of the highway, right? There's nobody coming. There's nobody coming. Well, then someone comes around the corner. They were so far away. They were like, my goodness, I got this. It's fine. That was the closest I ever got Steven to cuss. He's holding on to the oh shit handle and he's like, oh my. So we get turned around and go back.
Sounds like Mark Green.
Yeah, everybody was freaking out. It was fine. It was a great time. Yeah, but you should ask him when you have him on. You should ask him about the time he called me the worst research partner in the whole world because I left him out. It was cold. It was like 20 degrees. And we had done, what was it? I think there was a howl that came out of the woods or something. Or he did a howl maybe. And it scared something in the woods, like bolted. And it had been standing behind this tree watching us for however long. And when someone did that howl, something howled back and it bolted. That's what it was. And he was out there by himself because we had all gone back to the cars immediately following the howl because it's really cold. And so he is out there and I've never seen that big man move so fast in my life. And he comes back over there and he's getting in the car and he's like, you're the worst research partner ever. You left me out there. And I'm like, I just got to be faster than the slowest person on the team, man. That's all I got to say, you know? But yes, Pyro, yes, I still have the Daisy Duke Jeep. It is a Squatch and mission. Squatch and Curbs don't stand a chance with me now. Let me tell you. I actually did that the very first day I got it. I went directly, like the guy was in the Jeep with me and I was just like bloop bloop and he's like, oh my god, why'd you do that? And I'm like, because I have a giant Jeep with giant tires and I can just blah, that's what it's for. So yeah, it was great. Yeah, fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right.
This is
Okay. What a show.
Well, thank you guys again for having me on.
Get backstage with us for a minute.
Be sure to
Be
sure to get the link shared around on Facebook so we can, when your
I
show's
I
coming
did.
back on, and we'll start sharing. So
Okay, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on. Thank you, chat. It was great to meet some of you and fantastic questions.
Yep, absolutely. I guess next week. Right, Jeff?
Well, I'll have a list now, so I'll have more stuff to
You guys are the grooviest chat around, I have to say.
Absolutely.
That's how we like to have it. We're not those crazy, we only want to hear about Bigfoot. Don't tell us about your life or anything else.
Yeah.
And that's the most Jeff's talked. You kept him awake, so
that's good.
I didn't have to do any talking this time much. I just was able to sit back and
I'm glad I kept him awake.
Yeah. All right. Next Tuesday, 8 p.m. we'll be back. We don't know who yet, but I'm sure we'll have somebody. Right, Jeff?
Yep.
Jeff, all right.
Bigfoot Todd says he'll come back on.
What's that?
Bigfoot Todd said he'll come back on.
Okie dokie. You got more information, Todd? You got some more goodies? We'll bring you back.
He's always got more information.
That works for me.
I think we could do 18 shows on his information.
He's got some neat stuff. Sure. All right, next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Lauren, stick around. We'll see
All
you
right.
backstage. Rest of you, see you next week. Take a night, Jeff.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Jeff.
Good night, John Boyle.